Good morning, Daybreak watchers. We're going to get going in about 50 seconds here.
And engaged every weekday. Start your morning with Daybreak with Brian and Jamie from 6 to 8. Local news, community stories, and the conversations that matter most. Then it's the Stephanie Miller Show from 8 to 11. Middays belong to the Tom Hartman program from 11 to 2. Followed by the Jeff Santos Show from 2 to 5. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba and Greg Bach, 5 to 7. Real news and great conversation right here on 92.7 WMDX.
Finding support for my child with ADHD felt overwhelming. I didn't know which direction to take, but understood.org's resources
Good morning!
Morning!
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
This is where Wisconsin wakes up. It's Daybreak with Brian Noonan and Jamie Martinson. Here are your hosts, Brian and Jamie.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is 6 minutes after 6. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. Glad to have you with us. If at any point in the show you want to get involved, we'd love to have you. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. The sun is going to be out today. Thank goodness the rain is ceasing, so everybody can dry out a little bit, at least for a couple days before things start up again. But we definitely...
Few clouds, few sprinkles in Madison right now, so hopefully we're going to get rid of those later today. Cooler temperatures, though. Not nearly as warm as it's been over the last couple of weeks.
I'll take it. Like we said yesterday, as long as the rain's gone. Everybody's here. Frank is here, our senior producer. Our technical producer, Parker, is here. As far as I can tell, he's there. He is.
There he is.
Look at him. He's all full of energy.
Always,
Well, he
very.
told me
Still here.
He told me before the show started that he actually got some sleep last night. So now he's all
Oh,
energetic.
good for you.
It was
Ready to go.
yeah.
It was the first time in days that I hadn't started waking up on and off for like every half hour at like 12:30.
Oh, that's always the worst.
Yeah.
Why?
It was
What,
good.
what was waking you up?
I think what it
The
is.
demons?
The demons. Those
The
demons,
voices?
man.
Yeah,
I think
I get it.
what it is I get so anxious that I'm going to miss my alarm before work sometimes that I'm just like,
That's why you set multiple.
I have 5, I think. Yeah.
I have my alarms on my
Wow.
phone, but
And
I
still
also
wake
have
up at the last one.
I have my alarms on my phone, so I can just hit those as they incrementally go off. But then I have one across the room that I actually have to get up and go turn off because that's the only thing that some days gets you literally out of bed.
Parker, you're
depending on
not
the day.
seasoned.
I'm not seasoned.
You
no.
still have the glow.
Are you saying he's bland?
No, he's...
Tasteless? Boring? That's mean, Frank. It's
Like
only
a boiled
6:08.
chicken
Wait a
breast.
minute.
That's what Parker
No,
is.
he's,
Whoa.
Parker, you need some salt, maybe a little garlic.
he's still worried. He's got to make sure he gets up for his alarm.
Well, don't
And
you
there's
worry
me.
about getting up on time?
No.
Oh, his commute's shorter.
His commute is short. His
Well,
commute is very
that's
short.
true, but
In
still.
my radio career so far, knock on wood, I've overslept my alarm twice in 10
That's
years.
pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I had a hard time getting out of. Some days I have a hard time getting out of bed, but I'm awake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
like, I know the final minute that I absolutely can't push it anymore in order to be up, ready, and out the door. But there's some day I'm usually awake. I think I've only overslept, I think twice probably in the last 25, 30 years. But yeah, I'm usually awake. It's just a matter of how lazy I want to be that particular day.
All right, no more talking about sleep because I want to go
'Cause you're
back to
gonna
bed.
get
But
sleepy.
no, I'm always. I got yelled at yesterday by somebody on the watching the show within the show because I yawned when we were in break. Like, stop yawning. I'm like, first of all, we're not on the air. I'm supposed. All right, Jamie, you had to go shopping yesterday.
I did. Not for me, though. Not for me. For my husband. Now, my husband is an anti-shopper. He is literally these are the clothes that I want. Please go pick me out the new version. And that's how he likes to shop.
Can I just really fast before we get into this, because I know where this is going, and this is the trope that angers me the most. The trope that men can't shop for themselves, men don't care. It's like,
no, he
stop.
can. No, he can. He doesn't prefer to. He doesn't like to. I have no.
Can he go online? Doesn't he? Can he just?
He is. My husband is a bigger guy. And so he is very particular about how things fit, where he wears them. And I get it. It's fine. I'm as particular. So I can't really say much to him. However, I always know generally what I'm looking for, what my size is, and I tend to stick to the same store, so it makes it a little bit easier. And ladies, if you've ever shopped, you know that women's clothes numbers are arbitrary. Doesn't matter.
They're that way in guys' clothes too.
Right, and that's what I'm finding out. And so he's a bigger guy. He's got a particular bigger guy store that he likes to go to, and we went in about an hour and a half before close on a Tuesday night, right? So there's nobody else there, which is you're starting out strong if that's how it is.
That's his preferred.
Right. And so we walk in, and this very nice woman who works at this store looks at us, and she goes, "What can I help you with?" And my husband was looking for like a couple of sports coats and things for some bigger meetings he's got coming up. And she looked at me and she goes, "You've been here before." I said, "Oh, we're in your system." She goes, "You go take a seat." She goes, "Wife." And she goes, "I'm going to bring you a bottle of water. Don't you worry. I got this." I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but I like it. And so she goes,
"Let me crazy."
She goes, "Let me give you," she goes, "I'm going to have you fill out this." She gives my husband a tablet. She has him put in all of his information. She gives him a pair of compression shorts. He goes into the dressing room, and these compression shorts, after he's got him on, I hear the tablet say, "Stand directly looking into the mirror." I'm like, what is happening?
Wait, what?
Turns out you put these shorts on, it's all AI. So it gives him every measurement from his neck down. It was incredible because then she brought him clothes, spot on fit. Length, neck, like everything. Inseam, it was spot on. We were in the store for 45 minutes. My husband came out with a bunch of stuff he was super happy with. He's going to look so amazing. It was incredible. I got to sit there and play on my phone thanks to the compression shorts and AI, folks. I'm telling you, it was
What?
It was incredible.
I've never heard of that.
I don't know how I feel about
It was
this.
new, and we were just in there literally about.
Who had the compression shorts on before your husband?
Nobody. They make you take your compression shorts with you. So now I have a weird
Oh.
bag
Oh,
of
okay.
compression shorts. But that's besides the point. But it was actually incredible because I could hear the tablet saying, "Now turn to your left, turn to your right. No, please angle a little bit more this way." As he's got these compression shorts on, they're doing all of the measurements. And then she was like, "Oh, you're this, 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 and this." And she brought him the colors he liked. Everything fit perfectly. No adjustments, no sleeve alterations, nothing. Everything looked amazing on him. And he's like, "I really like this."
Was this for everyday clothes or like dress clothes?
This was dress clothes, but they can do everyday clothes as far as like your chest width, so you kind of know what size to get in T-shirts or your button downs or anything like that. But this was mostly for dress clothes. But I mean, even his pants, the pants were a little big. We had to adjust down one size. But other than that, they had the compression shorts had everything just perfectly matched to him. It was incredible. He loved
Frank,
it. He appreciated it so much.
Frank, you're a grown man. You know what?
Yeah.
Don't you know what size you are? For the most part,
I can go look,
Yeah.
but
you can go look.
for dress
You don't
clothes.
know. You don't know like
dress
what size
clothes.
dress
For
shirt
dress
you
clothes,
wear or
I
what
don't-
size suit coat you wear.
No.
Oh, do you
How
know that,
often am
Brian?
I
Yes,
putting
I
that
do.
stuff on?
Of course, I do.
You go to things.
Right.
That's true.
You are a celebrity.
Yes.
No,
You are wanted.
I've always
People
known
ask
what.
you to show
I am a
up.
producer in my
Yearn for
basement.
you.
No, I've always known what size stuff I wear because I hate
Always.
being bothered. This is intriguing, this compression short AI thing, but it's just one more step toward our robot overlords taking over. But I find very
was-
interesting. But
It
I
was
hate.
fascinating.
I don't want anybody talking to me when I'm shopping. I don't
Right.
want coming up and like that would have driven me crazy. Where if I happened to walk in somewhere with
Yeah.
my wife and that salesperson said, I would have turned around and left. Like
Why?
stop
She was
because I
amazing.
know what I'm doing. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. I've been dressing myself for a long time. I do it very well. But I don't do it very well here because it's 6 a.m. But I do it very well elsewhere.
I would say
my husband is very much jeans, t-shirts, polos, and button-downs with khakis when he has to get dressed. Going into the suit, going into the sports coats, whole different level for him. And it's funny because my husband is also a very plain human being. He doesn't like a lot of pattern. And so I was shocked when he got a blue sports coat on and was like, I don't know, do you have a striped shirt to go under this? I was like, oh my God, who is this person? And then he put on another sports coat. It was this plaid sports coat. It had like blues and burgundies, and I loved it. And he put it on, and I was like, there's no way we're walking out of this. But it looked sensational on him. I was like, there's no way we're walking out of this. Pretty soon he's looking in the mirror. He's got these really dark wash jeans on with it. And he goes, I don't know. I kind of like this. What do you think? I'm like, oh my God, who is this human? I have no idea who this is. And the woman was fantastic because after she had him all signed up, she literally just said to him, you just tell me what colors you need. Push the little buzzer that will ring my front desk, and I'll bring you what you need. And that's what she did. She was incredible. She brought me water. I played on a phone. He would come out and say to me, "What do you think?" And it was easiest shopping trip we've ever had for those types of clothes for my husband.
Scott is in Madison. He's listening on WMDX. He says, I believe you are referencing here is a 3D fit model. It's when an industry fits its clothes to set 3D model, then they take your measurements and poof, they know what clothes they make to fit your shape. No AI.
Okay. She mentioned AI. I'm just going off of what she said, but it was absolutely, if you're somebody who hates to shop, right? If you're absolutely somebody who hates to shop or has an aversion to it like my husband does, he just felt good about himself, because
good.
He wasn't just trying on clothes and going, oh, this looks stupid. And he was actually able to get a couple of cuts that he would have never tried because they were a little bit more tapered or fitted. And that is not something he would have just gravitated towards. Mm-hmm. But with his measurements there and with the help of the very lovely saleswoman, he was able to actually try these things on and felt good in them. So,
good.
It's
a success.
Yeah.
Success.
Do you know what it is? It's being also bigger guy. There's nothing worse than going in to shop and them being like, well, this should be your size. And it's like 3 sizes too small. And they're like, oh, I thought that would have fit. And you're just trying on clothes that don't fit.
You really
and
had
you're
that
just
happen?
like, oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Now, see, and
yes.
I'm probably as big as any of you guys, if not bigger. Parker's the only small one of the group. He's the only thin one of the guys. I'm talking about the guys.
The petite.
Yes,
Le
Frank and I are
petit
both economy-sized men.
Yes.
I'm compact.
I have to tell you though, like for men shopping, shopping is not fun in any way, shape, or form. Numbers are arbitrary. Brands don't matter. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Women's clothes are at a whole new level. And Brian and Frank, you both have lovely wives. I'm sure you've heard the tales of woe when you have to go out and find an outfit or you have to look for something because it's literally impossible. I mean, there was at one point I was like, why do I need jeans that I can do high kicks in? Because they had so much stretch, and that was what the label showed. In one of the particular stores I went to is this woman doing a high kick in her jeans. I'm like, I'm never doing that. What does that mean?
You never know when you might have to kung fu fight somebody.
What do you mean?
Like ninjas might come after you. You might have to go crazy.
I'm only 5'1", so I come out of the dressing room and everything looks like a penguin, even if it's like made for short people. I walk like a penguin because I'm walking on everything. So I loathe shopping. I absolutely loathe
That's
shopping.
why once you know your sizes, I just go online, man. Bang, bang, bang.
I
Then
wish
if
it
it
worked
doesn't
like
fit, I
that for
send it
women's
back.
clothes.
That's assuming you're saying the same size, O'Brien.
Huh?
That's
No,
assuming
I
you're
also
staying
can
the same
adjust up and
size.
down. I can do
Okay.
math.
All right. Just making sure. I can't.
Wow. All right, listen, there's a lot of helpless guys out there, but we're going to try not to be helpless. We have a lot to talk about today, and you can always jump in. But right now, we're going to take a quick break.
All right.
Dude, I hate shopping. Like, and I probably need to shop a little bit for some summer stuff, but just don't want to.
Corey's had to shop a lot more since he's gotten to Civic, just because of the meetings and things that he goes to. And he, sports coats and things like that, totally out of his realm. He would not. That's not something he gravitates to at all. When we go out, he always looks great. I mean, it's always a really nice button down. He'll do he always looks great, but it's a problem getting that far. And then shoes are always a really big issue because he always wants to be comfortable. And I'm like, no, you cannot wear your New Balances. You cannot wear your Brooks.
Is he one of those like dress shoes, but it's a dress sneaker kind of a thing?
He loves the fact that dress shoes are being designed like that now because it is a little better. He still complains about it, but it's not quite as bad as, especially when he did TV weather. Like 20 years ago, those weren't options. So he would actually wear like his sneakers with his suit and tell the camera guy not to pan down towards his feet.
Yeah.
I just got a new pair of dress shoes for the wedding, and they're built like a gym shoe, but they've got black soles, so it doesn't look. It's not like the ones with leather and then the white sole, and you go, oh my God! I wore them around the house the other day to kind of break them in. They were so light, so comfortable.
Awesome.
I was like, oh, this is phenomenal.
This is nice.
Phenomenal.
Shoes are our next thing we have to get, which I don't look forward to that, but
I'm with him though. My feet, I got it at this point. That's where I splurge sometimes is shoes, just because I have to get good shoes that are comfortable, and finding them in 14s or 15s is very difficult.
Excuse me, what shoe size did you just say?
14 or 15.
14 or 15.
God. Wow.
Woo. 15 seconds till we're back.
Fairly solid and better than expected. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
6:22 right now. Thank you for joining us this morning. Happy Wednesday. Roger and Stevens Point over on our text line this morning, Brian, reminding us that Willie Nelson turns 93 years old today.
Wow. Light one up for Willie. There you go. 93. Good for him.
And we know he'll be doing plenty of that because it's Willie Nelson.
Probably Snoop coming over for a little Snoop.
That's
and
right.
Seth Rogen dropping by the house. Matthew McConaughey. It'll be fun. But happy
time.
birthday, Willie Nelson. I slept out for 3 days on concrete to get Willie Nelson tickets when I was in college.
How was the show?
It was fantastic. Fifth row center. It was
I know
great.
he was at Breeze Stevens here in Madison a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago now. It might have even been longer than that. Sometimes my timeline is a little blurred. But we knew several people. We were not able to go to that show. We had to be out of town for a family commitment. But we had several people in our orbit that went to that show and said it was just absolutely phenomenal. That he can still perform really, really well. He doesn't move around as much. Usually at that point, they brought out a stool and sat him down, and he did a lot of singing. Right? But they said it was still just a great show, and he still sounds fantastic. So, and again, that was a few years ago now. But
all right. Well, happy birthday, Willie.
Willie Nelson.
Thanks, Roger. Yeah. All right. Listen, here's the question, and it may sound conspiratorial, but there's some people wondering about. Some people are saying, do you think Caroline Leavitt has been fired by Trump? Well, here's why. Because there may be some shakeups. There's Caroline Leavitt the other day was talking to reporters, and she's going on maternity leave. This she was ready to burst the other day at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. She's due very soon. So she said, somebody asked her a question, one of the reporters. She said that she is not part of the president's political team anymore. Yes.
It's an interesting way to phrase it, isn't it?
It is, because she sure seems like she's on his political team.
In fact, she was supposed to be on maternity leave on Monday, and he was supposed to start taking over his press briefings, or somebody from the administration.
He or
but
Rubio,
But she was back at the podium Monday after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, updating the press on what happened at that dinner and the administration's reaction. So I was actually a little surprised to see her based on
I
last
thought
week's
she was gone
information.
too.
Right. So.
Well, he couldn't do the press conference or the press briefing because the king was here. The king and queen were here.
This is true.
And maybe Rubio was somewhere else. That's going to be it's going to be
interesting.
I mean, circus.
Is that what this is? Was she actually fired, or is that he and his cabinet would be better speakers for the administration than somebody else?
Well, we talked about this last week when the story broke and you were vacationing, but there's a number of things that I posited that he might think he's smarter, which he does. Maybe he's not happy with how she's doing, because he did say, he claimed he was joking, but a couple of weeks ago he said she was doing a terrible job. He was being facetious, I believe. Mm-hmm. But we'll let you judge. This is what it sounded like when Caroline Leavitt said she wasn't really part of the team anymore.
That's a question that's political by nature. As you know, I'm not part of the president's political team anymore. I do sit here at the White House as a government employee. Look, the president has a lot on his plate, a lot on his schedule. He did host a telephone call prior to the election the night before, but he's made his position on the results of this election clear.
Wow. Interesting.
Or do you think because Caroline's nothing if not a savvy operator. Yes. Do you think she may be just distancing herself on purpose? Because when he lost last time, she didn't stick around. She went and worked for Elise Stefanik.
Who wants to go out to midterms are coming up, right?
Yes.
The president's polling is plummeting every day at this particular moment in time.
I don't know who
and
you're listening to.
I know there's a long way till midterms, but as of
Not
right now,
really.
the polling is not great for the president right now. She's starting to not only get more pushback from more legacy media, but also right-wing media in that press room. And at some point, if you're 28 years old and you have a rising career in front of you, which I'm going to assume Caroline Leavitt thinks she does, and she probably does.
She probably does.
Do you cut your losses and be like, nope, I am not anchoring myself to this anymore. I am not going to answer these questions anymore. To me, if you're a rising star for the Republican Party, you cut your losses at this point and
this is the perfect time, right? Because what's a maternity leave? Like 12 weeks, probably.
Sure.
So let's say government, maybe a little more. But now 12 weeks, that's, do the math. That's, no, not 2 months, Parker. It's 3 months. He's holding up 2 fingers. I can do the math. I understand. It's 3 months. That puts us July, August, end of August. Yeah, she just disappears. She just fades away. And right before the midterms, he introduced a new press secretary because Caroline wants to spend more time with her child.
Right.
And
she's also got a young a toddler at home, too.
Right.
So it does make total sense. And her husband is much older than her, so somebody has to be around to, take care of the kids and things. But I think it's going to be interesting. And let's be realistic. If this was any other party, if this was any other president, people in the administration would be making the exact same decisions.
Sure.
It doesn't have anything to do with who the president is. People who see themselves having a strong political future cut ties really quickly because politics is very brutal in that respect.
Yeah, you don't want to get dragged down. Lynn's listening in Golden Valley. She says, I'm sure Trump is like many GOP and does not believe in maternity leave. You think he got mad that she's having the baby and just say, oh, I can't believe it. She was unfaithful to me. She was with her husband and now she has to leave me. Nobody leaves me. So
right.
It'll be interesting to see if she just disappears. I don't know. If she does leave, whether she was whatever, if she's not there when her maternity leave should end. I was wondering if he'd be able to find somebody as vicious as her, but I don't think there'll be any problem finding someone as vicious as
Whether you agree
Caroline
with her or
Leavitt.
not, she's good at her job. She's good at her job as a mouthpiece.
When we come back, we're going to do a little fact checking because we want to know, do you still think the attack at the Correspondents' Dinner was staged? So we must look at fact versus fiction here on Daybreak on the Civic Media Network.
Her husband went in the vein of Tony Bennett and Al Pacino and found himself a much younger wife. And
Oh, is her husband much older?
68.
And she's 28?
Uh-huh.
Wow, somebody has some daddy issues. Daddy.
That's so strange.
Yeah, he's
That's
60.
gross.
68. Yeah.
I can't imagine dating someone 40 or marrying someone 40 years my junior.
I have to. I'm gonna make sure. I'm certain he's 68. I know he is.
Aged.
He's not youthful.
No, he is not
He's not vibrant. Well, he must be vibrant.
I'm sorry. He is 62.
Oh,
That's not much better.
he's a kid.
But yeah, and she's only 28.
Yeah.
28 and 62.
Mm-hmm. They describe their love as atypical.
You don't say.
Really? She's probably, man, that's weird.
That's why when I said he's much older than her, so somebody's got to be around with the kids. He is much older than her.
Yeah, he can't be chasing little kids around.
I mean, it was just like when Al Pacino had that baby a few years ago. I was like, who? One of the things I said to a group of friends was, who takes care of who? Like, do you need a nanny for Al Pacino and for the baby? Because he's like, here's the thing. Have a kid. I'm all power to you, but
Not
I
when
remember
you're that
what it
old,
was.
stop.
I remember what it was like raising my children, and even now at 47, I'd be like, I can't do this.
No, it's not for the babies are not for the aged.
No. Chad says it's called ageism. Wow.
I don't
I
think
raised
so,
kids.
Chad.
I raised kids when I was in my 20s, and there were days I could barely keep up with them.
It's not ageism. I'm not saying a 62-year-old person should not date or marry, but
No, absolutely.
Not your granddaughter.
We had a coworker once he was one of our sales manager. He was 50 and he married his 25-year-old blushing bride. And then I remember hearing the story. He told us the story of how when she was a little girl, he'd watch her work in her parents' restaurant when he was in there eating. And I was like, okay, that's just getting weird.
All right, yeah, you're a creep. Stop it.
That's
Just because you
that's
waited
weird.
doesn't make
Right.
you less of a creep.
No, that was weird. It was weird. They've been married ever since, though. I wasn't sure
Well.
that one was going to last, but they're happy. So good for them.
Yeah, I guess.
Good for them.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a
It
whole
is a lot.
lifetime between
Yes.
you.
I just, I don't know. Okay. Parker saying that Dick from Madison thinks the Correspondents' Dinner was staged.
All
The
right.
reports of the agent
Yep.
was shot. So
Yeah, I think good to take. We should lay down the facts first before we get to them.
okay.
What are the facts? Are there any real facts?
We're gonna tell them what we know first.
We don't know anything. We know that it was all
Well-
some sort of hootenanny.
And here's the realistic part of it: we're never going to know the full truth.
No.
We'll never get the full ever from this administration.
Well, and it
Maybe in 40 years.
I think
when
there's
the
a
guy's
bigger
released from
discussion
prison.
here about how we don't trust anything now
yeah.
because of this administration. There's
Right.
nobody questioned when Reagan got shot outside the same hotel,
No.
and we saw it just like we see the video of this guy running in.
Mm-hmm.
But because of everything else, and because of Butler and because of this and, and every.
We've got about 10 seconds here.
All facts, no fiction. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
6:35 right now. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you're listening in Wausau on WXCO or in Eau Claire on 93.5 The Tap or in Hayward on WBZH, we're glad that you decided to join us today. My name is Jamie Martinson.
Good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. You want to weigh in? Do you think the Correspondents' Dinner was staged? The attack there on Saturday night. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. We talked about this on Monday. It's hard not to start buying in to conspiracies. It's very difficult. And I'll be honest, I never used to be a guy who did. I thought, I would hear people going back to talking about the Kennedy assassination and how, oh man, everything. And then you go and have you ever been to the book depository?
I
Jamie?
have not.
You stand in the window, and granted, it's right next to the window that Lee Harvey Oswald was in. And you look down and you go, well, it doesn't make sense that the car came off the main road. And boy, I'm not a great shot, but I could hit somebody from here. So you start buying in, but then you realize so many things have to be part of a conspiracy.
Right.
And that's what's swirling around the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Because of what has been going on with this administration, it is very hard to believe anything. And then you start looking at little pieces and those little disparate pieces that can be explained away factually. Like a lot of people hang on that Caroline Levitt comment that shots will be fired. Well, she was talking about, Donald Trump was going to rip into the press. And so when she mentioned, there will be shots fired tonight, everybody better settle down. She was talking about his speech.
Right.
She wasn't foreshadowing a lone gunman running through security.
But to your point, once that misinformation takes hold, it's impossible to fully undo, especially with this administration, who's never going to give us the full scope of the story,
right?
Because that's not what they do. Especially with social media that takes hold and people start believing everything they see. Even when the facts come out, some people are going to stick to the version that they saw and believed first. And when that happens, to your point, you erode trust. You erode trust in media. You erode your trust in the government. You erode trust in all of our institutions. And when you start breaking down that type of trust, it's going to start affecting everything. And we've seen how that starts to play out over the course of time with these conspiracy theories. And I said on Monday, at this point, it looks to me like there was valid reason to be concerned about the shooter based on what we know, based on what his family said. And I'm always willing to change my mind, though, as I see more evidence come out to whether or not this was actually staged or not. And I know that right now that seems like there's a lot of coincidences. But at the same time, this was a guy who had been radicalized by what he'd seen online.
Right, but now are you seeing pictures that he was not even an African American guy? Those that's the next conspiracy that's coming out. I saw those pictures yesterday. Right. I was like, oh, stop. But it becomes harder to believe anything when even the president, we all saw him trip as he was being taken off by the Secret Service, and then he claims he didn't. Though. It's we didn't see him. I mean, we saw you, and then we did see him in the wings looking back out, which all of these things. Now, I'm not discounting what you said about the shooter. It seemed like this guy was troubled. He had definitely changed his MO on social media from video games to this, much more political, much more anti-administration stuff. I understand why people more and more can believe these things, even though facts come out and they're like, well, it can't really be. Yeah. It can't really, there's too many people that have to be involved. Now, granted, then we talked about Salad Guy yesterday. Salad Guy, But they're not going to let everybody in. If it's a
Right.
if it's a staged event, everybody's not coming in on the event.
Right.
So it just we have to be careful. And like I said, I've fallen into a couple of these just because I'm so over what's been going on in the flood of garbage that comes our way every day from this group that I don't put it past them to do anything, which is a very sad state to be in. I don't put it past them. I'm not saying it is, but I'm not putting it past them to try. I still go back to medical people. We all saw it in Butler. We all heard a shot. We all know that somebody did die, the shooter and an audience member. We know that. But we also know that doctors say that there's no way a bullet could take off a piece of an ear and it grow back.
Right.
Scott has been hanging on in Madison. Let's talk to Scott, 855-75 Civic. Good morning, Scott.
We've got Dick on the line. Sorry.
Dick's on the line. Talking to Dick. Hi, Dick. Sorry.
Good morning. I'm in the same camp as you as far as, look, the guy spews nothing but garbage 90% of the time. So what's a normal person supposed to read? And now the story comes out. I've told you before that I renamed the FBI the Fascist Bureau of Ineptitude, that now they think it was friendly fire that hit this Secret Service agent. The FBI can't say for sure. Isn't that something?
I had heard that as well, that they don't know in the scuffle. There were reports earlier at first that the suspect had gotten off one round.
Yep, they're saying that he possibly never even got a round off. It's this morning on on Morning Joe. So, if the FBI, and that doesn't surprise me under this guy, that they don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
they know when the next kegger is.
It's hard to take anything they say at face value. Dick, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. We did have Scott, but he texted it.
He
said, I think the attack was real, but I believe the response was staged. I also believe that they purposely made the event less safe. Well, it's funny that the ballroom thing was their first response. First thing after this happened. Again, coincidences, but so many coincidences fed to us all the time. Everything's a coincidence. So is it going to take a different administration, or is this level of distrust now so ingrained in us that we are never going back to a time when we could believe that any administration is telling us the truth?
I think in where we're at in modern society, right? And I don't want to lay everything on social media, but it certainly doesn't help, and it certainly contributes to the conspiracy theories and to people who get tied into these things because they join these groups and they read all of these things that other people who also believe the same thing they do get tied into all of this, and instead of getting outside opinions, instead of looking to other sources, people tend to, where we're at right now, people tend to insulate themselves into their orbit of people who believe and think like they do.
But that's always been the way. We always search for opinions that validate our own. And I think it's, social media, to your point, yes, we can blame social media. We can blame the rise of a 24-hour news cycle where nothing has time to breathe and actually be investigated because it's churn and burn on stories nonstop. So we always have to have new fodder for the furnace.
But I feel like what is happening right now is people think that when they see those headlines come across that have been AI generated, that those are real headlines, right? And it just continues to feed into what people are already thinking or think they believe or may believe or whatever it is. And I think it's a dangerous circle that we've put ourselves in, especially with a government who put so much distrust in the media, who spews so much distrust of our processes, our norms that we're so used to, who also spews so much nonsense about the Constitution and constantly tries to override it. So if you're somebody who's already susceptible to wanting to insulate yourself with your groups or being sucked in by the AI-generated news, you're going to start believing everything that this administration spews and not be able to separate the fact from the fiction of it.
I don't think you have to be susceptible, though. I
This
think
is true.
because if you're smart enough to see you're being gaslit constantly, when don't believe your eyes, believe what we tell you, and you're an intelligent human being who has made decisions your whole life, and you're like, no, this is not true. This is not true. And it's so if the majority of things that they're telling you are true and you are seeing that they are clearly not, this is not AI generated, this is not fake news, I'm seeing it with my own eyes. I'm hearing it from other news sources outside this country. All these things are being backed up. We have facts. That doesn't make me susceptible. It makes me angry, and then it makes me start doubting everything. It doesn't mean that I'm a sheep that's gullible and just was looking for something to validate me. It means that I've had so much come at me. Think of it and this is not to minimize abuse, but if your abuser keeps telling you the same thing over and over and over, you'll start to believe that. It doesn't mean you're susceptible to these messages. It's that these things have been shoved in your face and beaten into you for so long, you cannot help but look for other ties that put all this together.
And I think a lot of people in where we're at right now, because of the media circus that we essentially end up in most days, I think a lot of people have tuned out what is considered the more legacy media, right? And they're they're trying to find their own sources of good information because there is so much distrust in the media right now. And so they go out and they find these independent journalists or they find these independent sources. And let me be clear, there's some very good ones out there. There are some
there's
very
also
good
some
ones
crackpots.
That's the point. That's the point. There really are. And if you start believing the crackpots more than you start believing the ones doing the real work, the real investigation, then we're compounding upon compounding, and then you're just insulating yourself even more. And I think it's a really vicious, dangerous circle that we've put ourselves into. And I can't say that it's all on the administration. They've just fed in to this mindset that a lot of people have. And they have been really good. That's the one thing that bothers me the most about this administration, because they have been really good about taking the insecurities of America and certain subsects of the country and using that to fuel their messaging. And it bothers me so much because it is a psychological game that they continue to play with people in this country. And they have been able to bring people into the fold who would have never believed this stuff in a bazillion years, but they have been able to play into people so well. It's been a game of psychology for the last 10 years.
It's always, and it comes down to find someone to blame who cannot fight back, and you use them as the straw man. They're going to be the ones who are constantly on you. John jumped in on socials. He said the Trump regime has caused the speculation. Everything they don't like is fake and not real. This is their own fault, not to mention literally everything out of the White House is a lie. So that is my default. Yeah, see, and I don't blame John for feeling that way. And so that's why, yes, it's probably this whole thing was just a tragic episode. That there wasn't some deep, dark conspiracy. But there's a lot of things that make you question it. And they have used, going back to your social media, and I know we got to get out of here, but they have mastered the use of social media. Everything from insulting groups to diplomacy is done on social media in that silo where only his people are listening. All right, we've got to keep moving. Hey, decimal point on a speed limit sign? You gots to be kidding me. Maybe not. It's Daybreak on the Civic Media Network.
All right.
This administration has been abysmal at so many things, but the way they've been able to pull people in and basically target the people who feel the weakest, the most vulnerable, the most mistrust, the ones who feel like they have been overrun by the government, not gotten anything out. They have been able to use that to their advantage so well, better than any other administration I've ever seen. And it is.
And they keep hammering the same line. So
yes.
woke was never a term before
No.
him. Fake news was never a term before him.
Nope.
But they coined him and they kept hammering, and then his supporters picked it up and echoed it. And then even if we use them ironically, they're still there, and that's
Yep.
part of the deal.
Yep. It's the genius of this administration has been the psychology game that they've played with and basically getting people so angered that they felt like this was the best way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll vote. They have made people vote against their own self-interest.
Yes.
Just to get back at the woke people, the snowflakes.
Yep.
Like, why? You're cutting
Yeah.
off your nose to spite your face. What are you
Yep.
doing?
Which is why I find, and I know polling is hard for people to take, but I always find I don't trust the polls on candidates and presidential candidates and things like that. I think there's a lot of convoluted information that goes into those. I don't love those. I never have. However, I do have more trust in the polling when you're talking about the economics of things, because when people have had it, they've just had it. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you even look at the presidential polling at one point, and it was a true phenomenon that happened where Trump supporters, especially in 2016, would not, to the pollers, say that they were voting for Trump because they were trying to skew the voting. That was a real phenomenon that happened.
Yeah.
But I do trust polling on economy and when people say that they've had it with certain issues, because when people have had enough, that's when they feel like they can be honest. And that's where people are at. Even a lot of Republicans, when you look at this last batch of polling, they've had it with the prices going up. They don't want to pay more at the pump, because that was the whole reason that he was elected this time around, because he promised to come in and take care of Biden's economy, worst economy ever, whatever he always likes to trope out onto the stage. And so people voted for him because they thought that he was going to do better, and Kamala did not position herself to be anything but what Biden was already doing.
Yeah.
And people believed him again.
Well,
He was, after all, a TV star, right? He's been in the entertainment industry and been able to pull people into his side for a very long time.
We got 10 seconds.
Local news, community stories, and the conversations that matter most. Now, more Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
Good morning. Thank you so much for listening to the Civic Media Network. It's 6:52 right now. My name is Jamie Martinson.
and good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. Glad you're here. I will say right up front, and this is not a flex. I'm not bragging. I drive fast. I drive. I believe 10 miles over the speed limit is about right. I don't speed through school zones, and I don't speed through residential neighborhoods. But if I'm on anywhere else, trust me, I'm going fast. And if you can't hang, then stay out of the left lane. That's all I'm going to say. But Jamie, you saw this story.
This is a great story.
It is, and I don't know how I would react if I was on this road.
It would certainly get your attention, wouldn't it, if you saw it? We're talking about Wisconsin road signs, because a particular road has added a decimal point to its speed limit sign. And this is in a hope that this unusual sign will actually give drivers second thoughts about going fast on this stretch of road.
No.
The Outagamie County Recycling and Solid Waste Facility in Appleton, that's a mouthful this morning, announced earlier this week that the speed limit inside the facility would now be 17.3 miles per hour, Brian.
I don't have any of those numbers on my speedometer. I don't have decimals. I don't have a 17. I know that much. I'm not going 17. I barely go 17 backing out of the garage.
Between the 15 and the 20. I think that's where you would
All
be
right.
safest. But I find this fascinating because the facility provides recycling and landfill disposal services, and they say that they've decided to post this speed limit of 17.3 miles per hour because it makes drivers pause and it makes them look twice, according to the facility. Now,
So they run into things because they're not paying attention to the road anymore. They're like, did that
Probably.
sign really just say, hold on? Then they back up and they're, all right.
I love this idea, actually.
Oh.
The facility also says that people who travel through the site each day, including haulers, contractors, and nearby residents, are essentially needing to slow down. And the goal here is to keep everybody safe because small changes are a big reminder to stay aware and look out for one another. Now, posting such a specific speed limit is pretty unusual. It's actually not unheard of, believe it or not.
I don't
There was
believe
a
it.
speed limit sign reading of 8.2 miles per hour at a shopping center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And that, of course, has created a lot of confusion on social media for years. Another unusual speed limit sign was spotted at the Opry Mills Mall in Nashville, Tennessee. There, drivers are limited to going 24 miles per hour, not the typical 25 miles per hour.
I can't believe that that there are low speed. People completely disregard the parking lot speed limits. I didn't even know there were technical speed limits in a parking lot. I just figured you'd be a lunatic to try to drive fast, which people are. They come zipping. You're trying to back out, and some guy comes flying down at like 25, 30 miles an hour. It's like, dude, there's a million cars backing out of here.
Right.
There's people draped over their carts like their spines have been removed. They're moving at a snail's
There's children,
pace.
there's people walking, there's older people with canes and scooters and all sorts of things happening. Slow down.
Well, again, I will slow down in those instances.
Of course.
100% in those instances. Oh, mostly because I know if I hit somebody, I'm going to be more angry at them for walking in front of my car. So I need to just, but I mean, it gets your attention, 17.3, if you're even paying attention to the speed limit signs.
Right.
Which, you know.
You know, but here's the thing. Like, we go back to people walking through parking lots. How often now, and I'm guilty of this, how often do you see people trying to walk to their car and not only are they draped upon carts or, you know, trying to run after screaming kids, because we've all been there, but then they also have their phones because, you know, you're trying to make phone calls, you're trying to text, you're trying to get a hold of some, like, I'm guilty of it. I'm totally guilty of it.
This is why I don't like to leave the house, because yesterday I went to Costco and then I had to go to Walmart because I'm, you know, I got bank like that.
Twice in both days.
Same day. Same
Wow.
day. Well,
Glut
one,
for
Costco had
punishment.
the cheaper gas, but then I had to run in and get some things. And the parking lot is a zoo, and people aren't paying attention.
No.
And honest to God, I don't know what happens to people when they go to the store. They lose all control of their bodies. And if you're draped over the cart, perhaps you should just do DoorDash. If you can't walk without completely laying on the cart, and I'm not talking about just older people, I'm talking heavier
younger
people,
Younger
I'm old
people
and
do it all
heavy,
the
so
time.
I could say that young people do it, and they're in the parking lot just wandering around, and no one walks with a sense of purpose. Everybody meanders. I don't care.
No, I do not meander.
Oh, well, good.
I hate meandering.
I hate meandering as well.
I do not meander. And if I'm going in somewhere like Costco or Target or Walmart, whatever, name your mart store, I am going in to get the stuff that I need. And my purpose is to get in and get out as fast as I possibly can because I don't want to be in there. You and
I need like special shopping hours then, because I'm the same way. I know what I need. I have a list. See it right here?
Yes.
I got a list. And maybe, here's the thing, something might catch my eye, and that's okay. I don't just stop in the middle of the aisle and then park my cart across it and stand there slack-jawed, drooling because I've just seen some economy-sized bottle of pasta sauce. I'm like, no, I'm keep it moving, flow of traffic. And oh my God, people just willy-nilly. That's where we need some speed limit signs. We need a fast lane in Costco or Sam's or wherever you go to keep people moving.
traffic lanes in those stores, because that would help out immensely if we had traffic lanes. Because how often is there obviously some sort of flow of traffic, but then you have the one person who comes up going completely the opposite and sets off the entire aisle into nobody can get through that because you're going the wrong direction.
And listen, if you really need to compare the ingredients or the fat content in yogurt between 3 different kinds, that
it's
intently,
all online. You can do it before you get to the store.
Right, or park your cart off to the side. You know, it's Parker, this is your future. Just cranky, yelling about people in the store who can't walk. And
by
speed
the way,
limit signs with
get
decimal
in and out
points.
fast. Take that lesson with you.
I know.
No meandering.
Come and go. Yep.
All right, listen, we're meandering. We are going to jet into the next hour with headlines and stuff you need to know and so much more. I'm 59.50.
John says there's something called Walmart zombies. They stand in the middle of the aisle staring and unaware of anyone else. Yes.
Yes, John. Yes.
Yes. That is
unlike the
100%
movies,
true.
I can't go in with a shotgun and just start blasting.
They don't come out and do cool dances like they did in Thriller with Michael Jackson. They're just in my way.
But their brains are already eaten. We know that.
No, I go most of my shopping is done in 2026, mostly because I just can't tolerate going in and dealing with other people, which I know sounds horrible. But
pretty standard.
I literally have most of my groceries at this juncture delivered. Not to mention the fact that I like certain things from certain stores and not all stores carry the same brands.
Correct.
And it's much easier than driving across town 500 times. And then so I get a few things at this store and a few things at this store. So I do love the modern convenience of that.
I don't know. I don't trust. I don't like grocery shopping, but I want to pick my own stuff. Even though I know now I will, for like dry goods and things, do a pickup order.
Sure.
Where I could just drive up and
I do my own
pick
meat
stuff
and
up.
I do all my own fruits. And
Okay,
veggies.
yeah. See, that's what and the other stuff, if I know exactly what I need, or if I'm going and I need, laundry soap and all kind of stuff, I'll put in one of those pickup orders at Walmart and I'll just swing in and pick it up.
Yep.
That's fine. But yeah, when it comes to meat, groceries, deli stuff,
So we, for our meats, mostly we go to one of the local meat lockers here. And if I just want like hamburger for I don't know, like if I'm just using hamburger to ground up in, something like a casserole, I'll use usually Costco's meat.
Costco is good meat.
They do. But if it's, if I want something, if I'm making burgers or something like that, I'm usually going to the meat market for that kind of thing. But then fruits and veggies, usually the meat market that I go to is also a small grocery store that has fruits and veggies. So usually I can just pick up all of that all in one big trip and then it's done. But I pick up that stuff myself. I don't usually allow other people to shop for me for that stuff. But everything else, it's fair game. I don't care. Give me my canned goods. Give me my toiletries. All of that. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I go in and I pick my 2 to 3 substitutions for each product as I'm putting it in the cart, just in case.
I don't trust that either.
Because that way I still at least know that I'm getting, and I've generally there's been a couple occasions, like what I had, remember it was a couple of Easters ago, I wanted strawberry jello for like this fluff dessert that I was making. And they didn't have the mix, which is what it was supposed to be. So the guy gave me like the little jello cups. I was like, this is not the same thing.
No. See,
which was fine. But
I don't know. I've seen these. I've seen these people just throwing stuff in as they're going around doing the pickup orders. I'm like, no thanks.
I've generally
I'll do
had
it,
good
but
luck.
just for nothing that I'm going to eat.
Yeah,
Dog treats, laundry soap, shaving cream, that kind of stuff. I'll let them.
I generally have
me.
pretty good luck, and I do a lot of DoorDash grocery pickups too. So they'll shop at Woodman's for me or Target and things, and I usually have really good luck with that. Sometimes my DoorDash app will let me pick my shopper, which is really nice.
Really?
Because then, yes.
That feels invasive.
But then I can pick like the person who's got hundreds of reviews and really good, has like the 5 stars. because then I know that they actually know what the hell they're doing, and they're probably going to call me if they don't know.
Sounds like having servants.
It does a little. I think this is what people should do in their retirement if they enjoy shopping.
And see, I loathe shopping. I loathe it. I do not find it enjoyable. I do not find it relaxing, mostly because I have to deal with other people, and I just want to get in and get out.
It's the dealing with the other people that bother me. Like yesterday, I went and I had to make an audible. I was going to make fish tacos for dinner. Well, they didn't have fish, so I went shrimp taco.
I have a great recipe. Speaking of that, I have a really great recipe for the slow cooker for mahi-mahi tacos.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
I'll have to pass that along.
Please do.
I will.
But then I came across a jalapeno lime sauce that was on clearance at Walmart, and I was like, "Ooh, this might be good." It was from Pace, and I cooked up the shrimp in that, and I used it for to make a slaw to go on the tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but that I wouldn't have known had I not been wandering the aisles.
Right.
Even with my list. But I do. It's just. This is the problem. And Parker, it's not age, but people have become less considerate of other people around them. No one believes that there are other people.
Right.
It's all, you're the only person on the road, you're the only person in a store, you're the only person anywhere. Instead of going, I'm kind of in people's way. And maybe that's because I've always been so big, I've been cognizant of being in people's way. So I'm very... I know I'm not the only person driving.
Right.
All right. We've got 10 seconds.
Wisconsin wakes up here. Back to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday morning. It is 6 minutes after 7 now. If you are listening in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR, or right here in Madison on WMDX, or in Appleton and Oshkosh on WISS, we are glad that you decided to join us. Today, a little cloudy right now in parts of the state. We're supposed to see sunshine by this afternoon, though, so that's the good news. And any rain that we saw literally came in very, very light sprinkles this morning, Brian, because we don't need more rain in good portions of the state.
We do not.
Now, I know in the Northwoods they would love for a little bit of rain, but in other portions of the state we just want to dry out some. So we're going to get that over the next few days with some cooler temperatures as well. By the way, my name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. If you want to jump in and join us, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Don't forget you can see how do we look doing the show. Picturesque, that's how we look. You can do that on YouTube or our brand new Facebook page, Daybreak with Brian and Jamie, which is also the handle for our Facebook and Instagram social pages. So do that, or just, Parker,
give us a
you're
follow.
right. Parker put this up. Podcast, Spotify.
Ooh.
Maybe you're listening to Taylor Swift and you're like, I have had so much Taylor Swift. I need some informative and engaging talk. And you take a break from Taylor and you listen to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie on Spotify.
That
would be great.
Fancy now. Look at all these cool gadgets we have. Fancy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So take advantage of it before we feel neglected. All right, time to shift the focus to the Persian Gulf. We are at war, but this is, I will say this, it is kind of disheartening that now AP, the Associated Press, which is a very great news organization, straight ahead facts, a lot of, if there's opinion columns, they're clearly labeled that this is opinion. AP has stopped now doing live updates on the war.
Yeah.
So, because which is to me a sign that we're going to be here for a while. Nothing is changing. We're going to report on it. They're still reporting on it, but they're not doing headlines. So we have some headlines, though. President Trump has warned that Iran, quote, better get smart soon. He posted a mocked-up image of himself on Truth Social holding a machine gun, wearing shades, and referring to a non-nuclear deal. Mediators in Pakistan expect to receive a revised proposal from Iran in the next few days. Yes, he said no more. It said no more Mr. Nice Guy. There was a flag burning, or Tehran was burning in the background. There was a American flag there. He's holding it. Looks like an M16 or an AR-15, and in his sunglasses.
Is that what calming the rhetoric looks like?
It is what. Well,
okay.
that rhetoric doesn't count for other people.
Gotcha.
For foreigners.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here this morning.
Bring down the temperature, Jamie. Unless you're a burning city or a complete civilization that we're going to obliterate. Then we don't. Then you got to crank it up because you can't burn down a civilization at low temperatures.
In other headlines this morning, the president also said yesterday that King Charles agrees with him that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, adding during yesterday's state dinner at the White House that the U.S. is doing very well. The conflict has become a source of transatlantic tension, as we've reported.
I have not heard from the king to back this up, but the king was not shy about taking some shots yesterday.
No,
either way,
he was not.
Other headlines from across the globe. Oil prices are rising again today amid ongoing concerns over the Strait of Hormuz. The UAE is quitting oil cartel OPEC, a move that could allow them to pump more oil, yet prices remain above $110 a barrel.
And finally, despite a declared ceasefire, Israeli strikes killed at least 8 people throughout southern Lebanon yesterday, according to state media and also national authorities.
Wow. I really don't see an end.
No.
Can you? We're in our 8th week.
But
nothing seems to be changing.
That was always the fear, even from certain Republicans when these attacks started, right?
Yes.
Is that nobody wanted to get into a long, drawn-out war, which this portion of the globe has a history of doing. I mean, when you look at the past conflicts that have taken place in the Middle East, nobody gets out of those quickly. And that was always the fear that that's what this was going to be.
And those we got into with a plan, and we still were not able to get out of them quickly. This was not some gut, could have been indigestion. Could have been like in Christmas Carol, just a bad piece of meat that made him believe that Iran was going to attack us, despite all evidence to the contrary. All right, well, enough of that, because the war will rage on and we'll keep talking about it. But we also have some other stuff you need to know.
It's a wake-up call in more ways than one. Time for some you need to know.
Well, we mentioned King Charles. He was here with Queen Camilla, and he addressed a joint meeting of Congress yesterday, marking the second time a British monarch has done so. He was welcomed with an extended standing ovation, and much of his speech focused on the kinship and history between the U.S. and the U.K. At the end of his remarks, lawmakers gave him another long-standing ovation. Charles began his address to Congress by referencing Sunday's shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Saturday's shooting rather, saying such violent acts, quote, will never succeed. He expressed solidarity with the U.S. We stand united in our commitment to uphold democracy, to protect all our people from harm, and to salute the courage of those who daily risk their lives in service of our countries. In his opening remarks, he did remember his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who was the last monarch to address the U.S. Congress. He used a portion of his speech to praise NATO and the role the Defense Alliance has played in protecting their citizens and interests. The mention of Ukraine and the support it needed to defend itself from Russia's unprovoked aggression were another part of the king's message to President Trump, who has stopped most military aid to Kyiv since returning to the White House in January. The king took a moment to quote Trump in his speech, reminding the Congress that it was the U.S. leader himself who praised the friendship between the two nations just months before vilifying the U.K. and its government for not providing significant military assistance for the war. He concluded by reminding lawmakers that the United States' influence carries weight and meaning.
By the way, it was 1991, the last time a monarch addressed
Yes.
Congress. I had to look that up because I wasn't sure my timeline there. But
it was the same day that she and the first President Bush planted a tree
yes.
on the White House grounds. And I saw footage of her addressing Congress yesterday, Queen Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
she made a joke because at the press conference for the tree, the microphones were so high. She was very small of frame.
Yes.
She's probably the same height as you, Jamie. And no, I mean, and so they couldn't see her. So when she got to Congress, the microphones had been lowered, and she said, "I hope you can see me now," unlike yesterday.
Yeah,
So.
no, I think what you want about Queen Elizabeth, but she always had the right thing to say at the right time, and she always did it with a little bit of grace.
Yes.
And yesterday when we talked about King Charles and Queen Camilla being in the U.S., I said I didn't really understand the entire process because it was obviously some sort of diplomacy act. And I think essentially after listening to him address Congress yesterday, King Charles, that is, I think that's exactly what this was. It was simply a diplomacy mission from the king, mostly knowing how much this president reveres the royal family, right? He has a lot of admiration. And
Does
I think
he though?
Charles,
because he treats them with such disrespect. When you saw him yesterday, but right in as Queen Camilla was shaking hands with the cabinet, he literally pushed her aside to shake his own cabinet's hand.
but at the same time, he wants to be acknowledged by kings and queens, and he wants that sort of acknowledgement. And I think in this particular case, especially with the tensions right now between the U.S. and the U.K., I think that King Charles was probably the right diplomat to handle that, because I can't see this president being okay with the prime minister coming in from England, coming into the White House
saying
yesterday.
the things. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
No, Charles said it in a way. He made his points, and I thought they were very good. I thought he represented people who do not agree with this administration. He represented us pretty well.
Yep.
Said the things that needed to be said in a very diplomatic and regal way, still placating Trump just enough that maybe he'd listen, or he wouldn't at least blow up, you know? So it was, I thought it worked out very well.
It did. It did. And so, if we're going with the olive branch of diplomacy, then I think King Charles and Camilla were probably the right people to do that in this particular moment in time. In other headlines, we're going to bring it right back here to Wisconsin, because the Federal Bureau of Investigation yesterday said that it is aware of social media posts made by a Wisconsin activist who launched a promotion to offer free beer for his craft brewery on the day that Donald Trump dies. Carolyn Clancy, who is a spokeswoman for the FBI Milwaukee office, said in a statement about recent post made by Kirk Bangstead, he's the owner of the Minocqua Brewing Company. She said hateful rhetoric and speech are despicable. She also went on to say that threats of violence or terrorism will be investigated by the FBI, and the public is encouraged to report any threats of violence. Now, the state Democratic Party on Sunday actually denounced Bangstad's post, promoting the idea of assassinating the president in the wake of the shooting at that D.C. event that he was in attendance of. We're talking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Bangstead, who, as we mentioned, owns the Minocqua Brewing Company, he's also the founder of a political action committee that supports progressive politics. He said Saturday in a post from his brewing company's Facebook account, we're not going to give the post any more exposure. The post was made after a gunman opened fire at the dinner. U.S. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said the gunman appeared to have targeted Trump and officials in the administration who were attending that event. Now, Bangstead did not directly respond to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel's request for comment about the Democratic Party's criticism, but did make a separate Facebook post on Sunday where he hit back at the Democrats who criticized the post and actually stood by his previous comments by linking to merchandise for sale that promotes Trump's death. What I am going to say is this has not died down. He has doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled down as far as his views about the president and his post that went out after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah, he really needs to look in the mirror and do a little self-evaluation.
This isn't edgy. This isn't satire.
No.
You can't normalize political violence. Not right now, ever, but especially not right now with the rhetoric.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. I'll say it again. I have no good feelings toward this administration. That does not mean that in any way, shape, or form I want somebody to be murdered. He could be removed from office by election. He could be removed from office from impeachment. That would be fine with me. If he stands trial for any of the alleged crimes that he's alleged again to have committed, that would be fine with me. But to say, to promote this violence is irresponsible, because in this day and age that we saw how crazy people can be. The president talked against the Pope, and the Pope's brother was getting death threats.
Mm-hmm.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I have no good feelings for either. Trump called her a traitor. She received death threats. Stop. Things are too much on a razor's edge right now. You can't be doing this.
Doesn't matter if it's Trump or anybody else.
No.
It's just
No,
not right.
100%.
It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
No, we've got a lot more to get to, but we need to take a breath, Jamie. We need to have a little swipe or stay.
Yes.
Now,
Excited.
did you read all the headlines this morning?
I did not. I stayed away purposely.
That will make everybody happy. It's Daybreak on the Civic Media Network. All right. Does it now? I've heard of this guy for a long time. I've done stories about this guy for a long time. Is he as nuts as he seems? Or is he just is he such an attention whore that he has to
Bangstead
is
no, Frank.
Well, yes.
Bangstead is he's abrasive. He's very progressive in his views. I've had a few.
Is murder progressive though?
He's one of those guys who's not going to back down from what he believes, and which is why we're still talking about this post, because he posted it, he believes it, and he's not going to back down from it. And it's part of the reason why he's been in the news so often through the state, because of his hardcore stance he takes on his views. And I guess respect that if you want. I don't like what he posted. But at least he stands by his convictions, ?
Come on. That's stubborn. A cop out.
I've dealt with him a couple of different times for different reasons. His politics are not my politics. I'll just put it like that. So, not that I am right-leaning, and if you get that by listening to the show, you need to, reevaluate my stance. But it's I don't know. It's a very complicated situation with Kirk.
How's the beer?
It looks like beer.
I don't know.
Looks like beer.
That's actually a really good question.
I've never had any. I don't drink beer, so I couldn't answer that question.
Parker, you ever had Minocqua Brewing?
I have not. And I have a buddy that worked at that newspaper, and he's like, I will never drink their beer
Lakeland
ever.
Times?
Yep. So.
Yeah, it's a long, sordid history with Kirk in Wisconsin.
10 seconds.
Let's break out of the bubble and see what's happening out there in pop culture. It's Swipe or Stay on Daybreak.
7:22 right now. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is time for Swipe or Stay. This is where we put our politics aside and any chatter of it for just a few minutes, and we dive more into the pop culture headlines with our senior producer Frank. Couldn't remember what it was called. I was like, I don't know. I said politics. Now I want to go back there.
No more politics. Swipe or Stay. Frank, what do you got for us today?
We've got some good stuff. Hopefully, Jamie didn't read any of this stuff beforehand.
I purposely stayed away from everything yesterday. I did not. If it had any sort of entertainment in the headline, I was like, nope, scrolling past. I honestly was very good about it yesterday.
All right.
We'll see. So, Swipe or Say, I'm going to read some of these pop culture headlines. Jamie and Brian will have to decide whether to say and hear more of it, or swipe on to the next one. In the event of a tie, producer Parker gets to be the tiebreaker.
Hey.
All right. I did text this in our group chat yesterday. We do have a Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel update.
I think we need this one. Feels like there's not much left that we can squeeze out of this, so this feels like we're getting closer to closure.
You think that, but
Well,
every time we say it, we've said
that.
this 3 times now, and something crazy happens every single week.
I feel like there's only one other direction this can go. I have no idea what this new update is, but I'm going to stay.
So are you staying? Or I'm swiping. I've had enough.
Frank,
Parker,
you know what to play. We're staying.
All right, we have 2 updates. One small, one big. Mike Vrabel's wife was seen and photographed still wearing her wedding ring. Good news for Mike.
Yes.
Here's the fun update. Is people have looked into Diana Rossini's Spotify history.
Oh, my.
And they found an interesting playlist that she created.
No.
Called Turning the Page.
Oh.
Wow. Is this just recently?
I'm getting to it.
All right.
That she shared with one user named Mike on December 19th of 2022, which just so happens to coincide with a 4-game Titans losing streak when Mike Vrabel was the head coach of the Titans.
Wow.
So she shared this playlist with him. Wow. So the big anybody want to know any of the songs?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna. I thought
excitement.
I thought you
were
paused
gonna
like
give
you
it
had
to
some music drop.
So
or something.
it's all over the place, and this is my only thing where I'm like, really? Did she share this with Mike Vrabel?
Okay.
So we have some things that I think would go with Mike Vrabel. There's Renegade by Styx. There's Dance the Night Away by Van Halen. Welcome to the Jungle, Guns N' Roses. Last Resort, Papa Roach. But then there's Cuff It and Break My Soul by Beyonce from the Renaissance album. Big Energy by Lotto. House Party by Sam Hunt.
Wow.
all over the
Raise
place.
Your Glass by Pink. It's Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's all over the place.
Wow.
But who else could she have shared this with? Now, knowing what we know now.
Her son, her future son, Mike, who was named.
He was 1 at the time.
Well, maybe those were
Don't
songs
try
during
to
his
spin
conception.
No,
I was songs they played during his alleged conception. I don't know.
You guys totally have made Spotify playlists for friends, and
I have
shared
never.
with them.
I do. I share mine. I have my own, and I'll share stuff off of mine. I haven't made them specifically for anybody.
No.
Do you think that I know she stepped down from her role, and I know in the football world things are a lot different, but do you think this is going to die down, or is this going to carry into the season with the Patriots?
If the Patriots win, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
From the on the football side, none of this matters. And I think that's very important to point out. On the football side, nobody cares. If you're looking at it as a football fan, my team went to the Super Bowl. I don't care.
Sure.
Right.
He's got to figure this out. And the reports coming from the inside the building is he hasn't really been the same. And everybody's worried that psychologically he's not well. So everybody on the football side of things just wants him to get back to being Mike Vrabel.
Can we move on from this story? I am bored with it. Let's go to
How
story
are you
number
bored?
2.
This is like the
because
greatest gift we've ever gotten in
soap
terms of
opera of real
entertainment
world.
news.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Pass.
We have a White Lotus casting update.
Didn't we do a White Lotus? Didn't we find out that Helena Bonham Carter was
Yeah.
out the other day? So now we have a new
follow-up
update.
update.
All right, I'll stay.
I think that we have to stay.
It's a quick one. So the other day we talked, like Brian said, we talked about HBC leaving the new season of The White Lotus because her character, quote, didn't work. Well, it's only been a few days, and now Laura Dern has been cast to replace her.
Really?
It's important to note Dern is not playing the same character as Helena Bonham Carter was. That role has been completely scrapped, and the new one is being crafted mid-production.
Wow, that's a sign of a disaster waiting to happen.
Now, Laura Dern, this is an HBO show. Laura Dern has been on many HBO series, so people are saying this is probably a safe pick from the production standpoint. They said, get Laura in here. She's worked with us before. She's worked with Mike White before. If we put her on, we can work her character as we shoot. Yeah. So there's your update.
All right, good. Number 3.
Kid Rock and Pete Hegseth have teamed up again. Oh man.
Stay.
Parker, we need like ball with the ball, just like on standby.
Ball with the ball, ba-dang, ba-dang, ging, bing.
Everyone's favorite duo have teamed up again, this time for advertising purposes.
It's like Batman and Robin.
Truly. Pete Hegseth and your tax dollars have provided Kid Rock with a ride in the gunner's seat of an Apache helicopter. But don't worry, a camera crew was on site to, presumably film an ad for Kid Rock's upcoming Freedom 250 tour. And a Pentagon spokesperson made sure to reach out and say that Kid Rock has pledged 1,000 free tickets to service members at each show.
Wow. I forgot about that story. I thought you were going to talk about Kid Rock actually speaking about the Strait of Hormuz to Pentagon staffers yesterday. Two Kid Rock stories that are completely ridiculous. Now, are these the same helicopters that were outside his house?
Correct.
Probably.
Net swiper stay.
Thanks, Frank.
You're welcome.
Spent so much time with this Vrabel nonsense. More time with Kid Rock.
All right, we're clear.
Brian, the Vrabel story, the Spotify playlist was great. I love seeing this stuff come up, and I'm like, there's no way this is real. And it is.
Well, I know it's real. I'm just
real.
bored with it. Not your take. I mean, I'm not bored with the segment. I just the story just it's like, all right, they were fucking for years, and she may have had his kid, and
That's the thing.
Great.
Is that like
That's the
what we're
crazy
going to
part.
find out
Yes,
next?
that is.
Yeah, that is.
That's
100%.
coming.
I'm just waiting for it. I'm just waiting for it. And I'm not hoping for somebody's downfall, of course.
No.
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 No, we didn't make
Ultimately,
the
it is a sad
situation. We're
story.
just watching it. But man, her husband, what's his deal?
Like, I feel bad for the guy, for her husband. Like,
Yeah, and his wife.
and the wife. Yeah.
How do they not know all these years?
Well, the rumor is that he hired a private investigator.
Yeah.
Because he had a feeling
I got
this was going on.
Is that how the photos leaked?
The page 6 ones, yes. But
Yeah.
people were talking about the other photos that were released later, and it's like, who was sitting on these for years?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this is why Vrabel ended up losing his position in Tennessee. Like, I feel like there's a whole bunch that's still going to fall from
If
this.
we
Well,
learn
yeah, wasn't
that-
she reporting on stuff that, or the,
yes.
the thought
Well, you
is
just
that
said
she was
the
reporting on
playlist-
stuff that,
You just said the playlist was shared when they were on a 3-game losing streak or whatever as the Titans head coach.
Yep.
So what was he leaking to her beside his love?
Like, I mean, let's be realistic. Robert Kraft
Sorry,
isn't going to
Parker.
care as long as they're winning.
No.
Robert Kraft is going to be like, okay, well, whatever. I mean,
He's going to wonder why she wasn't an Asian masseuse.
right.
Yeah.
So I like that part. I just feel like at some point, if Vrabel's mindset is not in this, it's going to leak into the Patriots locker room.
Do you got to grab a dog?
No, I heard something. I don't know what I heard. No, at 8 o'clock, I'm going to run down and feed him.
I'll go grab a dog.
I feel like at some point, depending on how this affects Vrabel, it's going to leak into the Patriots locker room, though.
If they
Well, that's
start
when
losing,
That's when it'll matter.
Yeah.
that's when this matters.
What you munching on, Frank?
Banana bread.
Ooh.
Nice.
Made some the other night.
Look at you.
Ooh, I have a healthy version
know.
of banana bread, and it's
I don't want it.
good. Oh, it's so good. so good. So good. It's like one of our favorites in our house.
Mine's loaded with butter, sugar,
Perfect
pecans.
delivery. I don't want it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
But I love that for you.
Yeah.
And if there's a
for
day
you.
that I need it, I will be asking you for it.
I make that, and there's a really good pumpkin bread version of it, too.
Healthy and bread don't seem to go together.
This one uses whole wheats, like
Yeah.
whole wheat flour and stuff.
Sourdough's good for your gut, Brian.
Is it?
That's
love
healthy.
sourdough.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not knocking bread. I love bread. I'm just. I never think of it as a healthy treat.
Focaccia is really good for. It can be really
Yep.
good for you too because it doesn't use the sugars or anything.
I like a nice focaccia.
Also
I love
easy to
focaccia
make.
bread. Yes.
I like a good
Ooh,
ciabatta
Damon
roll.
Jones admits gambling schemes is the big headline on Scripps right now.
Man, coming
Oh, are
in
you guys
hot.
working out bits before the show?
No, I just happened to be right by it. What the hell?
My favorite is when you hear Parker clicking through the pages.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do I get there? How do I get there? How do I get there?
Damn it! I was reading something.
We need you. We need to get you just a soundboard where you're ready to go.
I would love to have a touch. Yeah.
Oh, I love touch screens for that stuff. I used to have pages and pages of drops that I could just tap.
In theory, we could take that board that's right there by you and put it here.
That's what it was supposed to be for.
That's yeah. I think Gordy used it a little.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Gordy.
But now he's not here, and I am. So
Yeah.
it could just go here. True.
There's no reason to do things like John and Gordy did because they're
10
not
seconds
here.
until we're back.
Oh, he is whining. Oh well, you got to wait 20 minutes.
Now back to more of Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Civic Media Network. It is 7:35 right now. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Do you think that students should be politically active or pulled in to political statements? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Be nice to Parker. He's always a little frazzled. He does a great job back there in the boyquarium, which is now, and it's very lonely in the boyquarium because only one boy is in the aquarium. So be nice
The
to him.
lonely
and then
goldfish swimming
get to
around
us.
his little bowl.
Yeah, feeling all lost. But the good thing is, as a goldfish, he can't remember what happened during the last
true.
break, so he just moves on.
What?
Exactly. The reason we're asking about kids being pulled into politics is because there's a lot of kids in Madison who are not going to school on Friday, and not
Right.
because it's Friday and they're going to go out and have a 3-day weekend. Well, they will, but not because of any sort of sloth. More than half the teachers said they would miss work on Friday to demonstrate in support of immigrants. Madison Teachers, Inc., the union that represent teachers and staff, said 70% of members said they are going to participate in a Day Without Immigrants. The event is part of National May Day Strong Day of Action. So Milwaukee's not having school on Friday. Madison's not having school on Friday. There's districts all across the state that are making different arrangements, and all across the country where kids are not going to be going to school.
Yeah.
Now, as a kid, you got to love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, too. This is all part of a bigger movement.
Yes.
It's not going to just involve teachers. It's going to be everything from union workers to
Are you taking the day off Friday to
I am
protest?
not. I
All
am
right.
not. But it's going to be union workers are taking the
Parker
days
is.
off. There's going to be teachers across the country that are going to be taking the day off who are going to be out protesting. And it essentially calls for everything from immigration reform to worker protections, even economic blackouts. There
Yeah,
are even places across the country that are saying don't spend any money if you don't have to, don't shop, don't do anything, because we really need to take a stand against some of this. And you mentioned some of the other cities that were going to be having some of these teacher protests, but Chicago also on that list, LA, and a lot of school districts, interestingly enough, in North Carolina, also stepping up.
That's
of the big notable
unusual.
ones.
That because of North Carolina's history and their voting,
Yep.
their voting history, I guess, and their
Yep.
history to see that. It's one of those. Now, I'm going to work on Friday because
Yes.
immigrants are hardworking people. And so
Yes.
being the grandson of immigrants, I will come to work. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. But Yeah, they're like, oh, we were hoping you were feeling
One
politically
day,
conscious and took
one
the day
day.
off. Nope.
What I think is interesting about this, though, is that members of of Madison's Teachers Inc. put out a statement saying that this is happening not because teachers actually want the day off, but because they're standing up for their students, essentially,
Yes.
is what this is. Students are experiencing a lot of anxiety. It's leading to absences and also trouble concentrating at school. And the union says that, quote, they're afraid that ICE agents will come for them, their parents, or their friends. A heavy burden no child should have to bear. Students cannot learn while grappling with adult fears of family separation before they have even mastered their ABCs.
Well, and we haven't seen that as much in Madison, but we have talked about different school districts, especially up toward Eau Claire and north there, where people were being taken right from school, or the kids would come out of school and people they knew were gone. So this is by no means just a frivolous day and a silly reason to take the day off. The only other time that Madison had closed was for 4 days in 2011, and that was when staff was participating in protests about Governor Walker's Act 10 legislation, which did away with unions, as you remember. One of the many things that Act 10 did. But this is important, and I'm going to, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because if it's just schools, people are going to say, well, because we don't respect teachers, we don't respect education. We have a wrestling executive in charge of the Department of Education. So people will be able to write it off a little easier if it's just schools. Where if there is strong economic impact, and I would urge caution if you're not going to spend money, but if you decide I have to spend some money, go somewhere that is owned by immigrants. Go to a small business.
Yes.
Don't go to
Starbucks
or another corporate place. No, that's all right. I was trying to.
I don't want to throw them under the bus, but at the same time,
right? Be careful where you spend your money and let your voice be heard. But it is going to be unusual. And I also, to answer my own question, which is, should kids be pulled into a political movement? They are being pulled into this movement, and you're welcome to chime in, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. They're being pulled into this movement, and the one good thing that I have seen come out of all of this turmoil is young people's engagement.
Yeah.
We saw it a lot with school shootings, and boy, those poor kids were shouted down by all sorts of mindless people who couldn't believe, why should we listen to a teenager about gun violence? Well, because they're the ones who are getting shot. Why should we listen to kids when it comes to immigration? They don't understand. Well, they understand that they may have been born here and their parents now are in danger of being taken away. Maybe their aunt, their grandparents, their friends' parents, whoever is being taken away and then disappeared. Not even sent back to where they may have come from. They're just being disappeared. So I'm bolstered by the fact that young people are getting involved. And even in grade school, there are kids who are catching on, and you can educate your child. And even if you're not in one of the groups that is being affected by this, you can still talk to your children and explain why they don't have school today. It's not just a day off. Yeah. Mom, Dad, why are we off today? Well, and then give them an age-appropriate explanation. Because there are ways to tell a kid about this.
Kids are perceptive, right?
Yes.
And they're going to. Here's the thing that I always learned about kids, and you know this as well. You had your own daughter. You also worked with kids. You were a teacher. Kids are perceptive. And if you don't give them, a lot of kids are going to be too afraid to ask the questions, or they might not even know how to ask the questions, especially if they're young. And if you don't give them answers in a way that they're going to understand it, just like adults, they're going to come to their own conclusions. And because they're kids, they don't understand all the facts of what's happening. Right. They only see what they can see. And they are also perceptive in the fact that if we're scared or we're trying to avoid things, or we're trying to go away through a different way about a different schedule because we're scared of immigration tactics.
Or we're angry. We just,
yes,
you know.
they're going to pick up on all of that. And I can't imagine what it's like for teachers in some of these classrooms right now who are trying to manage that type of fear, that type of anger, try to protect these students in a way that, I mean, teachers aren't paid enough. But now we're asking them to do this too in certain degrees, right? And they can't stand up to federal authorities. They're teachers. If the federal authorities come into the school, if they take that child, if they're affecting that family, teachers' hands are essentially tied.
Yeah, and that's
but
why
they're
and
left
the pressure
to deal with the classroom.
Right, and the pressure is on the districts. The pressure is on the front desk staff. They're the ones who have to stop people, and there are policies in place. And I know the school I used to teach at is in a very racially diverse neighborhood, a lot of Hispanic people in the neighborhood. And they are the teachers that I still talk to. There's a lot of nerves, and the kids do pick up on this. So I don't know how many districts across the state. It'll be interesting when we come back on Monday to see the coverage, but there are these protests. And you can call them protests, you can call them walkouts, you can call them work stop, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But school districts are taking notice.
And to be clear, in Milwaukee, the public schools were already closed tomorrow and Friday because they had pre-planned professional development days. But Voces de la Frontera is planning rallies and marches throughout Madison and Milwaukee. A lot of the teachers, it sounds like, especially in Milwaukee, will be participating in those. And then, of course, we've already discussed, the plans here in Madison. But
if you're a parent, we'd love to hear from you. Are your kids off on Friday? And not because of professional development like in Milwaukee, but are your kids off specifically for this May Day protest? And what do you think about that? What have you told your kids? We talk about how you can give age-appropriate messages. What have you told your kids about what is going on? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842, because I know there's a lot of you who are probably on your way to drop your kids off at school right now, or the kids are getting ready to go catch the bus or however they get to school. Other than, hey, you don't have school Friday, what have you told them?
Yeah.
Or what have they asked you?
I think one of the most intriguing conversations I've had is I have a lot of friends who are teachers as well. And one of the most intriguing conversations I had a few weeks ago was with one of my friends who is a teacher in Minneapolis. And she is a teacher just a few blocks from where the major ICE activity was happening in Minneapolis. And there were a few weeks there for, why that surge was happening, Metro surge, as the administration liked to call it, where she was down to sometimes a third to half of her class.
Yeah.
Because it is a very diverse neighborhood, right? Which is why that neighborhood was being targeted. And even a couple weeks ago, she and I were having a conversation, and I said, "Are you back to normal capacity?" And she laughed, and she said, "Not even close." She said, in fact, I've got a few students I'm very concerned about because I don't actually know what happened to them. And we aren't getting any word. The school district doesn't have any word from the family. Now, she said whether that means they took action themselves, they're just staying low, they don't want anybody to know. She said whether they decided to vacate the neighborhood and go somewhere else. Yeah. She said, we don't know, but she said they're not leaving any trace. And she said that is the hardest part of what we're seeing. She personally is seeing in her classroom, because she said, I care about these kids and I don't know what's happening to them. And I thought that was heartbreaking, because she's a very good, dedicated teacher. And she is even one of those people who has contemplated getting out of teaching because of how hard it's getting. But she's a lifer. And she teases, she says, this is my last year. And every year, because she loves those kids so darn much, she goes back and she's incredible at what she does. But it was painful listening to her give that experience of literally not knowing where a handful of her students are at this very moment, because they don't want to be found.
It's tough. I don't know how you do it in that environment, because kids have questions. And you do. It's amazing because when you say, "Oh, she really cares about those kids," if you're not a teacher, you may not get it. How do you care? How do you care that deeply about 30 different kids every year?
Yeah.
I don't know, but they do, and some of those kids stick with you forever. And to imagine them disappearing without a trace is just, kids move away, whatever, but you kind of, but to not have any answers is just terrifying. When we come back, we are going to talk about prison, and not in the usual way, because prison, we're supposed to rehabilitate people. Ha. Well, here's a program that actually may be doing just that.
I love this story.
And it'll make you feel a little good on a Wednesday morning. This is Daybreak. This is the Civic Media Network. Sorry, I got distracted for a moment.
No, you're
Lawson
good,
decided to howl, and he never
you're good.
howls.
You're good.
He's like, "Oh."
I'm hungry.
That's it. I'm hungry. He's like, I've been up for an hour or 2 hours.
Where
Let's
are
go.
you? It's funny because I said to Shell the other day, I said, well, she and I were talking. I said, so what do you do? I said, have you had this desk moved out? She said, no, I won't. Because she said, if they come back, I want them to know that they are accepted, they are loved, and all of their stuff is right where they left it. Yep. And so she said, I won't. And she said, she goes, that was an agreement we made at our elementary school, because she said, I'm not the only teacher who has this issue right now. She said, we've all agreed that their stuff will stay just as it is until the very last day of school. And when everybody else packs their things up, and she said, she's such a sweet person. She's like, I already went and got boxes for each of the empty desks, because she said, I'm going to pack up their things and hold on to it just in case they come back next year. She said, I'm still holding out hope that they come back. And she said, I know, she said they aren't, but she said, I have to believe that they're okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you allow yourself to believe the alternative, it'd be gut-wrenching.
And she said, and she said a couple of them, she said one of the little girls in the class who hasn't been back for weeks, she said her best friend, she said for days, just for the first week, just cried every day because she wasn't, we're talking second graders. That's what grade she's teaching this year. She usually
Second
bounces
graders
between.
cry a lot.
Yeah, they do. She bounces every year she's bounced over the last few years between first and third grade. So she's usually anywhere between first and third graders. This year she's got second graders. I think she has second graders again next year. When she and I talked last, that's what her schedule looked like. But she said they cry. She cries every day because she just wants her best friend back, and she doesn't understand. Because she said the best friend is the sweetest little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl you've ever seen. And she said she obviously will never understand what her best friend, who's essentially missing now, is going through. Yeah. And Shell said, we don't know if they've decided to move on, if they've quietly did it and then, without any trace, so nobody could find them. She said, we don't know if they are just laying low. So yeah, it's scary stuff. And she said, she goes, I don't want to get too hyperbolic, but she said, doesn't that remind you a little bit of what Anne Frank went through? She said, that's where my mind goes. And she said, I don't want to be that dramatic and hyperbolic about it. But she said, she said, you think about those things. And she said, it hits my brain. And she said, then I have to quickly take it out of my brain because.
All right. We've got 10 seconds until we're back.
Across the state of Wisconsin, Daybreak with Brian and Jamie is back.
7:52 right now. Thank you for joining us today on the Civic Media Network. A few clouds, a little mix of sun in there every now and then, too. Looks like we're going to dry things out, though, over the next few days across the state with some cooler temperatures. So if you are somebody who's been impacted by the floods, hopefully you get some reprieve. Hopefully you can get some relief here and, maybe maybe dry the basement out or dry the business out. I know there's been a lot of businesses over in the state that have been impacted by the floodwaters. So yeah, dry weather though this week, Brian, is very, very much appreciated.
That is very good. Parker, I got to ask your thinking on that. Now, I know the band is Three Dog Night, but do you think the song is Jeremiah Was a Bulldog? Why did you go with that song for this particular story?
I am told this is Joy to the World.
It is Joy to the World.
Yes.
It is Joy to the World.
Okay. Yeah. Seems joyful. I don't know the song.
It would be a little before Parker's time.
I understand. Yeah. I just there were two ways it could have gone, and
A dog, B joy.
Yeah,
well, it's the band and then Joy. Okay,
Sure.
Good enough. All right.
It's a great song though.
It is. Yeah. Oh no, it is. It is. It caught me off guard and it made me laugh. Trying to figure out Parker's mindset for that one. And
I wasn't going to use Who Let the Dogs Out again.
No, thank goodness.
No,
because they can't get out there in prison.
No, they can't.
I know.
This is a great story. Though.
It is a very good story. It was in the Wisconsin Examiner, and they wrote this feature on the Pause program in Wisconsin prisons. Now, the Pause program refers to Prisoners Assisting with Service Dogs program. So basically, prisoners are training service dogs. And it is being used not only for the training of these very crucial dogs, but to help rehabilitate some prisoners, which is supposedly what we're supposed to be putting people in prison for, right? To rehabilitate people, not just punishment or warehousing, but we're supposed to be prepping them for coming back out. Well,
that's the hope.
Terrific. So Can Do Canines matches service dogs with clients to help with mobility issues and all that, everything you would need a service dog from. The organization partners with 5 Minnesota prisons and 4 Wisconsin prisons to train these dogs. From the person who is the executive director, Jeff Johnson, he said, I frequently hear from inmates that this is, I don't know if redemption is the right word, but this is a way to give back that they haven't really had before in their lives. They also get the unconditional love of a dog, and some of them haven't had unconditional love from anything or anyone before this. So it really,
it's amazing.
It's a great, I think this is the kind of program that you go, what, for all the problems, and there are a myriad of problems in the prison system here in Wisconsin. And we've talked about a lot of them, and I'm sure we'll continue to have to talk about them. But this is the kind of thing that you go, all right, I can see this. Maybe dealing with a dog for a few months, training it to help other people, maybe that breaks through some of these guys' tough exteriors and makes them rethink their choices. Maybe I'm being you for a minute, Jamie, and being too rose-colored glasses on this one.
I don't know. Dogs have this unique ability, and I know not everybody's a dog lover, but even if you are a cat lover, right, there's a reason why you're attracted to that animal. They have this way of breaking through that sometimes humans can't. And sometimes it's just because I think they don't talk back. And but they listen. Dogs are great listeners. On some of my worst days, Aspen knows all sorts of things that nobody else is going to know, right? Because they have that ability. And animals in general, especially dogs, because I'm a dog lover, they have this ability to know when it's a really bad or hard day, right? Like if I'm having a really tough day, Aspen is glued to me. She is absolutely glued to me. She will not leave my sight, and she does everything she can to get my attention and refocus me. And that is what dogs do. And that's why I love programs like this because, you know, there are literally people who have talked about this program that haven't had any sort of contact other than the prisoners or haven't seen a dog in over 20 years of their life.
Yeah.
And now they are housed in a separate facility of the prison for the dog program. Each dog has 2 handlers. They live together in the cell with this dog. And there's a purpose to getting up every day. Because this dog needs you. This dog is depending on you.
And they teach them everything. They're sitting, staying, retrieving, cleaning up, putting them in, cleaning things up and putting them away. So they are really involved in this because in the story, if you read it on the Wisconsin Examiner, they talked to a woman who was a recipient of one of these dogs. This is not just
They're trained
a
well.
time filler for these inmates. They're doing real work for real people, and these dogs are. You've seen people with service dogs. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go home. My dogs are lazy. They're just, they lay downstairs and howl because they want me to come feed them. They're not. The only service they do is for themselves.
I have to tell you, Aspen will never be a service dog, not in any way, shape, or form. However, since we adopted her almost 3.5 years ago now, she has been in puppy training because one of the things that we are working
For 3.5 years?
She's been in puppy training for 3.5 years because one of the things that we are working on with her, and when I say puppy training, she's advanced through.
Oh,
her
okay. I was going to
courses.
say it's remedial.
She's very well. She can be very well trained. It depends, and if there's food involved. But at the same time, one of the goals that we're working towards over the next couple of years is getting her to be I don't even want to say therapy dog, a companion dog. I want her to be able to go into schools because she loves kids. She absolutely loves kids, and kids absolutely love her. And I would love for her to be able to go into schools, to libraries, to be that dog that sits with them while they read out loud. Because she's just that type of dog, and she's just got that disposition with them, and she is so loving and she is so sweet. She's still a little wiggly because she's only about 3 yet, so we still got some work to do. Probably in the next couple of years, that's our goal. But I've even seen what she does for kids, right?
Yeah,
in that aspect. So.
One of my friends who's first grade teacher started that last year. She got this dog that it was trained for that, and now the dog comes in and it'll go to classrooms for a little bit and just. The kids can calm and pet, and it really does help.
Awesome.
So good for this, good for the Paws program and Can Do Canines. And it's nice. Now, if you're listening to WMDX, see ya, I guess. We got to go. I'll be back.
Parker, you're on your own because I'm going to run to the bathroom. Frank might need to jump in here.
Sup, live stream. How you doing? What'd you think of 3 Dog Night?
Two of the World is a great song, by the way.
I thought it was good. Ow. Not a lot of dog songs. Live stream, you've heard me say this before. Sometimes, usually, when we have an animal story of any type, whether that be loose kangaroos or dogs in prisons, I try to find a song that's got something about that animal, right? But I don't know. I like music, live stream. I'm not that deep. I don't know that many. I don't have a lot of deep cuts. So my music library is not quite big enough to be able to just pull that myself. So usually I'll search up kangaroo songs, dog songs. And that doesn't always go well, folks. That usually ends up with the children's song that you would see on PBS on Sunday morning. It is not not always the most successful way to find music for the show here. If you ever have music suggestions for me, let me know, because I'm always trying to make it better and be on point, you know? Live stream, I've got a little exclusive for you. We have not said this on air yet because it's not quite 100% polished yet, but it is publicly available. If you go to civicmedia.us and you go to that shows page and then you head over to Daybreak, you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, if you scroll down past latest news, you will see that there are some special segments that are there. Those are all of our things that we do regularly. So like every hour when we do our headlines, those are going to be in there, as well as Swipe or Stay, that kind of stuff. When we do Dairyland Diaries every week, that'll be living on the website as their own podcasts as well. You can find those if you want to hear just that little bit. If you just missed those, You can find them right there on civicmedia.us and go over to the Daybreak page on the show's page. Fun stuff there, trying to get you able to hear more of us. Ooh, fruit snacks? I'm hungry. Fair.
Okay.
He was laying on the couch just looking at the door when I came out, like, hey, where were you?
We both abandoned Parker. I had to run to the bathroom, so he was entertaining.
So did you entertain the people on the stream, Parker?
Oh, I was very entertaining.
I don't doubt it.
Tell them live stream. I was entertaining. Please,
Yeah,
dear
tell
God.
us live stream. What did he say about us while we were gone?
What did I do? I told them about how finding music about animals is always a challenge because I always end up finding stuff that should be playing on PBS, on kids shows.
Could have done Puppy Love by Donny Osmond.
Oh my God, you go way back.
There you go. See, and that's what I was saying. I don't have deep cuts like that. I don't know. My music library is not that deep.
That's because we're old.
It's because you're old. Yes, it's because you're old.
Somebody texted
We've lived
in.
a life, Parker.
We have.
You have.
I've also done a lot of radio, music radio.
That's
Also true.
yeah.
Somebody texted in regarding our conversation yesterday, saying that could I have had a tutor going into law? One of my friends survived algebra with my help, says this texter. Yes, I could have, and I thought about that.
That's what that's about.
I still find it weird that there's that much math in the
There
law.
were 2 courses, and they terrified me. And math is not my strong suit. I was a 4.0 student. The only way I got through math in high school, though, the only reason I got through high school math is because I had to go in almost every morning and work with my math teacher. And my dad was incredible at math. So he ended up having to help me a lot at home. And I don't know. It felt like a big task, Herculean task, to go into pre-law. So.
Law seems too much.
It felt
too much.
hard.
I don't want to do all that.
Right. I was like,
Spoken like a true guy who went into radio. I don't want to work.
Damn right.
Right?
Work like that.
All right. We got 10 seconds.
Wisconsin wakes up here. Back to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. It is 6 minutes after 8 right now. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. It is time for headlines. Let's look at the war, which is in its 8th week. First headline, at least 21 people have been executed in Iran and 4,000 arrested since the start of its war with the U.S. and Israel, according to the United Nations Human Rights Office. The executions were carried out amid Iran's crackdown on dissent, in particular through national security-related charges, the UN Human Rights Chief said this morning.
In other headlines, U.S. President Donald Trump has posted a mocked-up image of himself holding a gun and wearing aviator sunglasses on Truth Social. Alongside that is a warning for Iran, no more Mr. Nice Guy, says the text on the image. It's alongside an image of the American flag as well.
Very nice. He's so classy. The United Arab Emirates will withdraw from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, you may know it as OPEC, on May 1st. The UAE's state news agency WAM reported. The decision aligns with the United Arab Emirates' long-term strategic and economic vision and the development of its energy sector, including accelerating investment in domestic energy production, according to the statement from the UAE.
And finally, despite that declared ceasefire, Israeli strikes killed at least 8 people throughout southern Lebanon yesterday, at least according to state media and national authorities.
All right. Well, this is a quagmire that we are stuck in for the near future because I don't think Iran wants to negotiate via Truth Social.
No.
And we're not sending anybody to sit down with them, so...
Yep, I was just going to say, and if you don't have anybody at the table during those negotiations, it's hard to actually negotiate. So here we are.
Here we are. When is November again?
A few months yet.
I keep holding out hope,
folks.
I hold out hope. You know, spring's eternal. Oh, well, that's stuff we needed to know from Iran. But what about we need to know right here?
It's a wake-up call in more ways than one. Time for some you need to know.
All right, well, in the ballroom that will not die news, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has formally asked a federal judge to overturn the judge's own ruling that blocked construction of the White House ballroom. In a 9-page filing late Monday, Blanche argued that the shooting at the White House Correspondents Association dinner is proof that the ballroom is necessary for the president's safety and construction must be allowed to proceed. Okay. Federal judge, just do the news, Brian. Okay. Federal Judge Richard Leon imposed, I'll have a conversation. Excuse me while I talk to myself for a moment. Federal Judge Richard Leon imposed a preliminary injunction earlier this month, you know this, that paused above-ground construction until the administration obtains congressional approval. Well, construction of a presidential bunker beneath the East Wing was not subject to the injunction because they want to bury him down there, too. A federal appellate court now reviewing the case then allowed all construction to continue temporarily and will hear further arguments in early June. The lawsuit against construction was initially filed late last year by the Trust for Historic Preservation. It said Monday that it had no intention of dropping its lawsuit, which, quote, endangers no one and which respectfully asks the administration to follow the law. That is a crazy request. Can't do it, Jamie. I can't just read it. Blanche's filing asked Judge Leon for an indicative ruling, essentially a request for Leon to consider the impact of the dinner shooting and state whether he would lift the injunction or throw out the case if it were sent back to him. I can't do this anymore. Republican Rand Paul, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, said Monday he would introduce legislation to permit ballroom construction. How have we kept our president safe for 250 years without a ballroom?
I have no idea. That's a great question.
How are leaders all over the world kept safe without ballrooms? I say, how is Vladimir Zelensky kept safe in a war without a ballroom?
Right? They've had a lot of underground tunnels for Zelensky.
Okay, fair.
There is that.
How many people do those seat?
Oh, I don't know. I'm assuming you probably don't want that many people down there. I'm assuming if you have your tunnels full, it's probably not a good day in Ukraine. And I'm not trying to be facetious.
And not a lot of dancing.
I'm just saying that if the tunnels are full, it's probably a bad day in that ongoing war. Another war perpetuated by a country, mind you. But this is not about security at this point.
It's
I don't
not.
care what
It's
this
ego.
administration
It's
wants to tell you.
100% ego.
It is.
There was a very interesting picture posted online of when King Charles, then Prince Charles, was sitting in the Oval Office with none other than Richard Milhous Nixon.
Right.
And then a picture of him sitting there yesterday with Donald J. Trump. The amount of outlandish decoration that has been put in the Oval Office and all over the White House, and the fact that he does, as you mentioned earlier in the show, Jamie, he idolizes kings and dictators, and he wants this for himself. He wants his own Palace of Versailles in America. We don't need it. We don't want it. And he's trying to break the law by getting it, but it will not go away.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, if you're taking out the security issue and you're looking at simply the ego part of it, you're also looking at bypassing all of our constitutional checks and norms. And I don't care who you are. If you are somebody who is a more conservative voter, that should be very important to you, because in this case, even though this ballroom is being described as privately funded and it's coming from you're right, it's absolutely not, because taxpayers are going to have to be part of the conversation, because there is still security infrastructure, there's still federal land, there's still going to be long-term maintenance on this. So to even get the thing up and going, it's going to take millions of dollars, which they have not completely accounted for. No matter what they tell you, it has not all been completely raised. So it is going to have to come from taxpayer money. So essentially, we're buying the ballroom, and not to mention the fact that the White House is already owned by the American people.
Yes,
That's
it's
why
not
there's
his
checks and
house.
balances.
It is not his house.
It's not Mar-a-Lago.
Plus, some more is going to come out about this, but there was a report in the New York Times yesterday that the contractor who is supposed to be building this ballroom, got a no-bid government contract on another project that is completely against the law. The Constitution specifically states, the law states, that there must be open bidding on all government contracts to find the best deal. They got a no-bid contract on something else, and then they got this thing too. So there's a lot more coming out about this, but it is ego-driven, and it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there's more stuff we need to know.
There is more stuff you need to know, and we're going to bring it right back here to the state of Wisconsin, because this is a fascinating story.
You love gerrymandering.
I do
you love maps.
gerrymandering. I do. A second 3-panel judge yesterday dismissed a challenge to Wisconsin's congressional maps, ruling it has no authority to act on the claims without further input from the state Supreme Court. Now, in this particular ruling, it was stated, until the state Supreme Court says otherwise, non-justiciable and non-cognizable, I knew that was going to be a hard one for me, under Wisconsin law, according to the judge. Now, the law firm that brought this suit said it would immediately appeal the ruling to the state Supreme Court. That lawsuit was brought by Law Forward. The decision is one of 2 cases that have been under consideration by separate panels composed of 3 judges from different counties appointed by the liberal-led state Supreme Court. The lawsuits, which were filed in July of last year, followed multiple failed attempts to redraw the maps, which are currently represented by 6 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Now, Law Forward is representing a group called Wisconsin Business Leaders for Democracy, and the case essentially contends that the current maps amount to an anti-competitive gerrymander. Republican members, of course, of the state's congressional delegation and others want to dismiss this lawsuit.
I wonder why.
The state's high court issued orders November 25th, concluding that the 2 legal challenges constituted a, quote, an action to challenge the apportionment of any congressional or state legislative district under a 2011 state law that requires these challenges to be heard by a panel appointed by the Supreme Court. This was actually the first time that the 2011 law had been invoked in any sort of redistricting case, though. So we're just making history all over the place with this gerrymandering argument. Here's the thing. You have a solution here, right? The governor has laid out a solution.
Mm-hmm.
There was a special session that was called 2 weeks ago now.
Yes.
That the Republicans refused to participate in. Governor Evers would like to have permanent maps put into place. So you have an option here. You have the option to negotiate with the Democrats to make sure that maps are fair to represent all of the constituents. Now, if there's a reason you don't want to do that, that might say more about where you think your politics are and who supports you than anything.
And
but
spell
there's
those
an
out.
off-ramp.
Spell those out. Don't just use it's unfair. That's a second grader's defense.
Right.
Tell us what your reasoning is for not wanting these maps permanent. Yeah, and you can say, well, what about population shifts and da-da-da? Well, the population shifts are mostly going to come from your major cities, Madison, Milwaukee, Eau Claire, bigger towns. The population shifts in rural areas probably are not going to increase. They may decrease a little, but what's the real reason? And the real reason is, we all know, holding on to power.
Now,
and guaranteeing victory in certain districts.
Yes, absolutely. And to be completely fair, because I know we have one other story, this panel of 3 judges did not say that the maps are fair. They also didn't say they're unfair.
Right.
They simply said we aren't going to decide this yet, which puts everything back in the hands of the state Supreme Court, which, by the way, will be a 5-2 majority once Chris Taylor is sworn in.
So what are you saying? So what's your
laying
point?
out the facts here this
All
morning.
right. Well, here's another fact. In more as you need to know, Jimmy Kimmel is in trouble again. He's in the crosshairs of the president. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. But now the FCC, which is led by a Republican ally of Donald Trump, is trying to go after the licenses of the parent company, which is Disney, which you know has a new CEO. So Disney's ABC is hereby directed to file license renewals for all of their licensed TV stations within 30 days. In other words, by May 28th, 2026, the FCC said in an order published yesterday afternoon. The order is not going to affect local stations right away. It's just the start of a protracted legal process. But nevertheless, the FCC order is an extraordinary escalation. We know the Trump administration is very thin-skinned and cannot take a joke. We know that they sued CBS and CBS acquiesced. They sued them over the editing of not a Trump interview, which was edited heavily the other day, but of an old Kamala Harris interview. They gave in. That led to, if you want to connect the dots, that led to Colbert being gone. Donald Trump has gone after Jimmy Kimmel before. He was suspended last year for a little bit and came back. So far, Disney is standing firm and saying, no, we are not canceling Jimmy Kimmel's show. That was a joke. It was a joke in the context of a fake roast. You don't have to like the joke, but it is definitely not. But the weaponization of the FCC is just another attempt, and we're going to talk again about the weaponization of the justice system in just a few minutes, or the Justice Department. But Kimmel answered all of this on Monday, said his comment was has garnered so much criticism about that it was a joke. It was a joke about the fact that Trump is almost 80 and she's younger. This is censorship. This is silencing any voice of dissent and also being a thin-skinned little baby. We'll get to more of that after this on Daybreak.
All right.
I also think this is an interesting one because for anybody in Wisconsin, I think you need to pay attention to this even more so. Because obviously right now it won't matter to the local stations, but it would eventually, just like the first Kimmel
Sure,
go-around.
just like the first time.
But this administration already went after, I mean, you got to go back 6 years, but if they can go back 6 years for election denial, we're going to go back 6 years to the lawsuit against the Rhinelander TV station, right?
Yeah,
because of that ad that they didn't like even then. And they went after Rhinelander and several other, and essentially those TV stations won under the First Amendment.
Yes.
But
they're counting on those stations don't have the money. So they figure those stations are going to give in fast. And it's it's weaponization, but it's also another cheap money grab for him. He sues everybody and he gets this dough. And Disney really, man, I don't know. I don't know if this new guy is going to hold tight.
I had a conversation with a good friend who works in news on a national level just yesterday. And we were talking about this. And I said, do you think that the new CEO will give in? And he goes, I don't know about the new CEO. He's like, Iger would have already given in. That was his belief. He's like, Iger, I think, would have already given in to this. But he's like, maybe not. But he's like, he goes, I have a firm. He goes, and I'm not the only one in national media that believes that Iger would have maybe already given in to this. Most likely
this is the
given
second
into
time.
This. Yeah.
But again,
the new CEO has nothing to lose right now, right? He hasn't gone one-on-one with this administration yet. So, I don't know. Interesting.
But the other thing is, even CBS admitted that these are lawsuits they can win. They just don't want to deal with it. So all you have to do is have the backbone to say, yeah, it's going to cost us a little money, but we're not going to get pushed around. Because sooner or later, he's going to be gone. And we have to keep going.
Does this have more to do with the fact that a lot of these boards of directors and these corporate owners are now a lot of them are very much in the conservative vein of politics? And I think that has a lot more to do with it at this point.
A little less than 10 seconds.
In some cases.
Yeah.
All facts, no fiction. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
We hope that your morning is going well so far. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. It is 22 minutes after 8 o'clock. You're listening to the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. If you've been following this and you saw a picture that was posted on social media and then later deleted by James Comey of seashells featuring the numbers 8647, do you believe that constitutes a threat? 8647.
Wasn't this an eternity ago?
What's that?
Are we still talking about something that happened like over a year ago?
No. We're talking about something that happened yesterday related to something that happened over a year ago. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Well, Jamie, if at first you don't succeed, try again. That is the motto of this administration, only when it comes to filing criminal charges against former adversaries.
Sure.
So you remember James Comey was indicted once before for his testimony in front of Congress. Well, that case completely fell apart because there was nothing there. And now they have decided they're going to try to indict him again, and in fact have indicted him and have issued an arrest warrant for James Comey. You go, that name sounds familiar, Brian. Sure, he was the director of the FBI. Did he cost Hillary Clinton the election? We can argue that another day. But he was also a guy who would not completely pledge allegiance to Donald Trump, which made Donald Trump very angry. And Donald Trump does not forget. So a year ago, like Jamie said, he posted a picture on Twitter when he was walking on the beach. Now, it wasn't clear if he just saw this picture. I don't think he made the shells. It seemed as if he just came across this. Someone had arranged seashells in four numbers, 86, little space, 47.
Right.
Now, the FBI, who, according to Kash Patel, has been investigating this for a year and a half to try to get to the bottom of it.
This is all they have to do? This is all they have to do? Okay.
This is important stuff, Jamie. They're seashells. They're seashells.
Sometimes I feel like I warp into a new time span, so I have to make sure that I am currently with the whatever April 29th, 2026. Okay, go.
Yes,
go ahead.
Listen, I understand your confusion, but I yes,
Okay.
we must clear it up. That's all they have to do. This is a pressing matter. They're saying that this constituted a threat against Donald Trump's life, that 86 can be interpreted into kill. Now, James Comey said, well, I took it down because I didn't know that. And if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know 86 just means we're out of it, dump it, ditch it. So when I first saw this picture, back when it first came out, I thought it meant dump Trump.
Yeah. I didn't think anything nefarious at all.
Well, Jamie, you know why?
We're reasonable
because you're a rational human
Okay.
being.
All
You
right.
have independent thought. You're not always looking to carry out a grudge. You're not a whiny little baby. You're a grown woman who can think for herself. So this is a 3-page indictment. Comey faces one charge of threats against the president and successors, one charge of transmitting a threat in interstate commerce. This could not be more transparent. Now, I saw Caitlin Collins, who you know is a great friend of the president from CNN. He despises Caitlin Collins because she
pushes hard.
She puts up with zero BS from them.
Mm-hmm.
She said this morning that her sources in the DOJ are saying that this is the weakest case that the DOJ has ever filed against anyone.
All of these cases of retribution have been thrown out in court.
Yes,
every
they're
single
illegal.
one of them. Every single one of them, which is what this administration said Pam Bondi was essentially getting fired for,
Mhm.
because she was so weak on being able to prosecute these types of cases. You can't prosecute cases in front of a judge that have no merit.
Correct.
Juries are not going to be able to find any evidence that there was any wrongdoing in these particular cases. This one is not going to be any different. I mean, it's just not. And all this is basically trying to get some sort of retribution. That's what this is. This, again, going back to a conversation we were just having a few minutes ago about Jimmy Kimmel and ABC, this is another form of censorship. But this one is going to play out in the courts, and
it's never going to get there. It's never going to get to court. And I saw a legal expert on talking yesterday, and the basis of this case, you have to prove that James Comey intended for this to be a threat, which he did not. To Comey's credit,
Supreme Court ruling.
Yes,
the Supreme Court ruling says that there has to be truth. A true threat requires intent. That's what the Supreme Court has ruled. That is a ruling from this president's court because he thinks they're a personal court of his.
And yesterday, Comey put out video statements saying, listen, I took this down right when somebody said that it could possibly be interpreted that way. I took it down. This is not my intent. There's no chance this goes anywhere. And so, we've got our new acting attorney general trying his best, taking his big swing, and he's going to whiff horribly.
Let's also be clear. Our new acting attorney general was the president's personal attorney in several court cases leading up to the 2024 election.
What are you saying, Jamie?
He is essentially the personal attorney of the president of the United States.
Which is what the Justice Department is supposed to be, right?
Yes, of course. That's what it's supposed to be. No, it's supposed to be completely independent. It's absolutely 100% independent.
Not anymore.
And I had a friend ask me yesterday because Jeanine Pirro keeps getting these cases thrown at her. And I had a good friend ask me the other day, if she keeps losing, will she end up going back to Fox pretty soon?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if Fox will have her. Roger makes a good point. And I saw this image yesterday as a reminder. A few years ago, Donald Trump posted a photo of a truck flying a bunch of Trump flags with a bound and gagged Joe Biden in the back with the header 8646. As Joe Biden was president at the time, using the same logic that the DOJ is using, couldn't Trump be arrested or indicted for the same kind of crime? Very good. Very good. And then Don says, he's listening on WMDX, electing really old Republicans is dumb. Perhaps. We are going to talk about guns and bullets and a small-town law enforcement officer.
All right. I'm going to call John real quick.
We are running out of time.
Here's the thing, and I agree with what Don's saying. I think electing any old candidate is really, really dumb.
No, we need some age restrictions.
Democrats, Republicans.
Yes. If you're that old, you gots to go.
I was watching some hearings the other day, and as I was watching, I was looking through the room, and I was like, oh, my God, these people are so old.
Yeah.
And
that is not ageist. That is just, come on.
There's a lot you can learn from people who have lived a life. I am all about that. I'm not old, but I'm not extremely young anymore either. But at the same time, really, if you're 85 and you've been serving for the last 35 years of your life, it's time for somebody new to represent your district.
Well, we had a chance to get a younger president, but she laughed weird. And she aligned herself with an old guy. So
right. Which was the mark that some Democrats couldn't handle because she aligned herself with. I mean,
just do what you need to do to get elected. That's all we need to do. Get them elected.
It's just very convoluted. Purity tests in politics are stupid.
There's a lot in politics that are stupid.
You're not besties with these people.
No, they don't care about us. They do not care about us.
You're not going to coffee with them. You're not
but I want to have somebody I could have a beer with.
You're never going to do
Why? Yeah. You really want to sit with a politician and listen to them drone on while you're having a beer? The last thing I want to talk about.
Although I'd sit down with Obama or Mayor Pete. I'd have a beer with Obama.
Well, now,
or Pete.
now it would be interesting to speak
Yeah.
with both of them. I mean, they're interesting people, but
Yeah.
We've got John on the line.
hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Long time no see, no talk. Miss you?
Yeah. How are things? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Things are good. Back up plying my trade across Wisconsin, so that's good. Getting to read more Journal Sentinel stories from an investigative reporter that I admire. So I'm good to go.
Yeah, good.
I'm excited to talk about this story. This is kind of a crazy story.
Yeah.
It is unusual. I'll put you that. When I saw it come out, I said that's something I haven't heard of. And it's taken a while to play out.
Well, yeah, when we saw the headline, and we got about 2 minutes before we go on, but we saw the headline and we're like, oh, this, and then as I'm reading the story, I'm like, oh, come on. This is nuts.
Yeah, this is.
And I think it's going to get, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be more that's going to come out, but I guess I got to be careful not to tease too much because some of that's from sources. But
sure.
I think it's not going to just end with the brothers, but we'll see. This is taking so long for the second brother to come in. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's why. I mean, that's obviously one of the questions that you can answer however you can answer it. But it seems like they can't be done with this case because there's a whole segment of the story that is not involved in these indictments or guilty pleas.
Yeah, the chief. I mean, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
That's a big thing too. Now he's gone from the town of Lynn and all that, but yeah, and he has a lawyer and everything, but he's not talking and everything.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a good question. And with the thing they weren't able to show is personal enrichment, right? So that's what that's where I think some of the stuff got hung up. He was soliciting money for his department, cars, and things of that nature. But
Interesting.
Any more follow-ups on Behind the Gun?
Yeah, I mean that continues. Yeah, in fact, we're talking about doing our next event. We did the gun safety, the gun owner safety summit in March. That was really interesting, different kind of conversation than people said they'd ever heard in Milwaukee, which was good. And we're talking about the next one on that. I'm actually having a meeting this morning.
Nice
on that one. And
all right, guys,
yeah, stuff's just been popping all over the place.
We've got about 10 seconds until we're live.
Okay.
Local news, community stories, and the conversations that matter most. Now, more Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
It's 8:35 right now. We hope that you are having a great start to your Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. All right, listen to this. A California-based gun dealer, a small-town police chief, and a scam to import illegal armor-piercing ammunition. Now, that does sound like all the ingredients for a low-budget movie. All those components, though, came together in Wadsworth County. Now, the gun dealer has agreed to plead guilty to federal charges. John Daybreak is an investigative reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel whose work has revealed injustices and wrongdoing. Recently, he published a fascinating project, Behind the Gun, which is ongoing. That reframed the issue of firearm injuries and deaths, focusing on gun owners. He's been covering this story, and he joins us now. John, good to have you, and always a pleasure to talk to you. I don't know where to start, so I'm going to let you just give us the background on this story because it is wild.
It is a wild story. So yeah, thanks for the intro. Good to be with you, Brian, Jamie. So yeah, the backstory here is this criminal. I cover federal court from time to time. Get in there. I used to cover it more, and it's been drawing me back lately for cases just like this. So yeah, the basic scenario is laid out by federal prosecutors is that these two brothers, Darren and Jacob Dowd, who are from California, from the Sacramento area, are gun dealers. They have a federal firearms licensee, and they were working with somebody, basically a scam, to work with a local police chief in the town of Lynn, which is a small town in Walworth County, and it's not a big town, and but what they did is law enforcement can request certain armaments, certain ammunition, things like that, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms will give exceptions for local law enforcement. And so what these brothers were doing was working with this police chief to say, hey, can you put in and say your town needs like a lot of armor-piercing rounds, which it's a small department, and just a few cops, and I mean like 500,000 rounds, and it was absurd. ATF sniffed it out, and I mean it was sort of Captain Obvious, but I mean credit on them that they didn't just sort of rubber stamp it and it went through. So the deal didn't go through. But yeah, there was like a middleman. I think that, the police chief's college roommate was kind of the go-between to the gun dealers. It's stuff of movies, really.
Wow.
I mean, for our listeners, right? You mentioned the hundreds of thousands, even millions of rounds of armor-piercing ammunition. But for anybody who doesn't understand the inner workings of our local small police departments, especially, explain to us just how unusual this actually was that ATF would have sniffed this out immediately.
Yeah, I mean, so again, when you're looking at at how many rounds, first of all, the kind of ammunition is just not needed that often, and when you don't have that many officers, you're just not going to need that many rounds. These rounds are really they're expensive because they're hard to get. The thing is, what's interesting here is that they're not illegal to possess, but you have to be able to import them, and these were coming from Bosnia Herzegovina. That's where the importer, the ammunition maker was located. So in order to bring that in, you need that, the special exception under ATF rules. And so again, that's carved out for law enforcement. But I mean, even for a department like, Madison or Milwaukee, I mean, that's a lot of rounds, and it's specialty rounds. So those wouldn't be rounds that regular cops wouldn't necessarily be using all the time. This would be more like the tactical or SWAT team, things of that nature that they would need these specialized rounds. Certainly not a small department, of just a few cops.
John Diedrich is our guest. He's an investigative reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. You can read all of John's work at jsonline.com. All right, Lynn is a small town in Walworth County. We've got two arms dealers from California. How do these groups get together? Where, because it seems like there should be other small departments somewhere between Sacramento and Lynn that they could have talked to.
Yeah, I think it's these are, having covered courts and these kind of things for a while, it's always like, who and geography might be less important as the connection that you have. And so there's an unnamed source who acted as the go-between, and an individual who's not charged. And, usually when somebody's just got their initials in there, and they might be, cooperating and that's maybe where, when they investigated this, that's what they focused on. But that individual has a connection between the police chief, Chief Bushy, and the gun dealers, the Dowds in California. And so how does that happen? That's not really spelled out in court documents exactly how they met each other, other than the police chief, who's no longer the police chief in Lynn, and I should be really clear, is not charged with anything right now. He does have a lawyer. He's refused comment, but the brothers have both pled guilty and are coming into just in the Eastern District of Wisconsin and are moving through the process in federal court in Milwaukee. But the chief hasn't been charged, nor has anybody else been charged. We don't know, ultimately would they be or not. But that's the connection. Is somebody knew the chief, somebody knew, and again, there's not, suffice to say, I haven't seen this kind of arrangement happen, at least show up in federal court that often. So it's not just like any department or any chief would do this. And I think what was interesting though is Chief Bushy in the town of Lynn meeting, I talked to the chairman of the town of Lynn, and he was describing how the police chief, came in, and, he was asking, he was like laying out this, arrangement. They didn't really understand what was going on because the kickback here, right, the money that was provided by the brothers was ostensibly to be used for police equipment. So like a new squad car, things of that nature, not necessarily, I haven't seen in court documents indications that the chief himself was enriched, but more was helping his department. So for the town of Lynn, it's like, oh, okay, I don't really understand that, but that sounds like he didn't really lay out what was happening, but that was the play.
And did he in fact use the money for that equipment?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was all in process, and then the feds came in. And
Oh, sure.
Well, they
Yeah.
didn't bring in, they didn't bring in the ammunition in the end, but that was the deal. That he had told the chief that the board, that's how I'm going to balance my budget and get more things that that you guys can't afford to give me. So, but the whole process didn't play out because the ammunition never made it in the country because the ATF shut it down.
Were the brothers trying to? Was this a resale scheme by the brothers? Was this stockpiling? What is the investigation showing? That
Okay. Yeah, it's a sales thing.
Okay.
I mean, they have a gun store in Sacramento, and they were selling these, and these rounds, depending, it'd be a few bucks to $5 a round. I mean, depending on the scarcity of ammunition. We just went through the pandemic where ammunition was really scarce, and this would even be more scarce. So, the market would do, but no, it looks like, financially these guys were, looking to make a buck. That was their business. I mean, there's also indications in there about them doing other things like impersonating the ATF. Which there's a photo in the criminal complaint of Jacob Dowd in ATF garb, and they actually would pretend that this, according to the search warrants and plea, to be ATF agents and go and take people's guns and claim that they were seizing them on behalf of the government, and things of this nature. So no doubt that caught the attention of ATF, who was investigating them in this. They're not charged with that right now, but kind of putting a thumb in the in the eye, so to speak.
So John Diedrich is with us. He's an investigative reporter for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. JSOnline.com is where you can read everything. And I want to get into Behind the Gun a little bit, but before we do that, you kind of mentioned it a little, but is there any indication that anybody else, the sheriff especially, who is not charged now with any crimes, are you hearing any rumblings that this case is not completely over?
Well, I mean, this took... Yes, I think it's safe to say this took 6 months for Jacob to come into court with a plea, and Darren, the other brother, pled out a while ago. So this is kind of, and that happens in federal court. Things move in slow motion, but it also turns out sometimes that more information is developed, new sources and so forth. I don't think the book is closing it. That the prosecutors are mamas. They always they just usually are pretty careful about this. They can't, by DOJ rules, talk about some of these things. But I don't know that the chief is totally in the clear yet. And so I would say that stay tuned on this. I don't have an indication. I'm not trying to be cheeky about saying he is. I know that he's going to be charged or not. I really don't. It's just how long this is played out. I think it bears watching to see what comes next.
My goodness. And Brian had mentioned Behind the Gun, and this is a project you've been working on for quite a few years. So first of all, before we get into what you found, explain to us what this project is, John.
Yeah, so I did this through, I work at Journal Sentinel, and then I went and did a fellowship at Marquette University at the O'Brien Fellowship for Public Service Journalism. And what we wanted to do was look at gun deaths and gun injuries in a different way. I've covered this issue for, more than 20 years at the Journal Sentinel, but it just felt like a lot of the lines were sort of on repeat, and distressingly and depressingly, on repeat, that, the narratives are well known. But what I did was I looked at it from, as Brian, as you alluded to at the beginning, from a perspective of the gun owners. Tell me something different. And what I found, first of all, I looked at statistics statewide and looked at gun deaths, including suicides, because it's important to note, and people might not know this, but 7 of 10 gun deaths in Wisconsin are suicides. And, that isn't always talked about. It isn't included in, when we use that phrase, gun violence, sort of suicide may not be commonly understood to be in there. But when you include suicide and you adjust for population, the map looks a lot different in Wisconsin. I mean, Milwaukee is still very high for gun deaths, but there's smaller counties like Wood County and other counties up north that are small that have a different gun deaths look differently there. So, and gun owners, as I leaned into this, had some and have some really interesting, solutions, and they care very much about the issue. And I just think it turns out that, people who are maybe more on the sort of gun control side have not, and gun rights side, they haven't really come together as much. And we're actually seeing more of that now. I'm more hopeful about this issue than I was before I started the project.
Well, it's a really enlightening project, and I urge people on both sides of the gun issue to go check out John's series Behind the Gun at jsonline.com. But you also, you didn't just write these and then hope that people would read them. You've been having a lot of live events behind the different sections. I remember talking to you about the one about suicides, and now you just had one in March as well, correct? Do you have one coming up?
That's right. Well, we had one in Wausau. That's been 2 years now. It's wild it's been that long. But we called that one At the Intersection of Mental Health and Firearms. Up in that part of the state in Wausau, there's, that is more of a suicide issue. So we talked about separation of lethal means in times of distress, what that looks like, who you could turn to, the Gun Shop Project, where you can bring firearms, no questions asked, to a gun store and have them safe, keep them for a while, those kind of things. And then in March, we had an event, again, a first of its kind, called the Milwaukee Gun Owners Safety Summit. We had it at Prince Hall at 12th and North in Milwaukee. And we brought people together there to say, hey, can we have a different dialogue? Often when things happen around firearms and firearms deaths, especially in Milwaukee, the line will be, that you often will hear is, let's put the guns down. Can we put the guns down? Which is a fine message, but as...
Unfortunately, John, we're out of time, but I want to tell everybody, again, go read it, Behind the Gun, and John's latest work on jsonline.com. John Diedrich, always a pleasure to talk to you. Look forward to having you again, John.
All right, we're clear.
Thank you, John. That was great.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Guys.
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure to talk to you soon.
I'm gonna message you. Are you still in Milwaukee, yeah?
No, I'm doing the show from home because we're on 7 stations. But yeah, I'll shoot you an email with my contact stuff.
Yeah, with your stuff. I might have your number on my phone still.
Probably, I think you do.
Great to catch up with you. I was just thinking about you the other day because I used to listen to you when I'd go to the dog park at night. So, obviously, to come back to a night spot,
yes.
A dusk spot. You were so great at night on TMJ.
Oh, well, thanks, John. So I appreciate that. And I always admire your work. Right. So we will talk soon.
Yeah, same.
Take care, man.
Thank you so much.
Right, take care.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Okay, talk to you. See you. Bye.
Let's get this down.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he's always good. And that Behind the Gun stuff was really interesting.
I want to flag this and listen to. They've got a bunch of articles. They've got a bunch of live interviews. I want to go through and read a bunch of this. And
the thing with the thing up in Wausau and the gun store project, and these are all gun guys, hardcore gun guys, who are saying a lot of the same thing that the gun control people say. Yeah. It's like, oh wait, so we all do have a lot of these things in common, but for whatever reason, we've been pitted against each other,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
That's the one thing that I think I find most interesting is that if people would just learn to talk to each other, they actually have more things in common than they really truly believe they do. And I know you can't say that about everybody. I get that. But at the same time, when you look at gun ownership and gun rights activists and people who obviously don't want guns and things like that, you actually land on more points than you think you do, because as we've talked, Even when after the shootings in Minneapolis, when we had that guy who believed in gun rights, right?
Right.
And
yeah,
they don't actually support the Republicans for many, many reasons.
No, and it's hard because I have no beef with guns. I understand people hunt. I know that. I understand there's sportsmen. I understand in some areas a need for a handgun or a short shotgun for protection. I understand all that. I think the proliferation of so many guns is the problem, and I think the access to certain types of weapons,
like
again,
semi-automatic,
that's the problem.
Yep.
Because most people who own guns
do it responsibly.
What, Parker?
10 seconds.
Always interrupt.
Oh.
Wisconsin wakes up here. Back to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
It's 8:52 right now. That is the weirdest version of this song I've ever heard in my life. But
let's groove tonight. Man, I'm flashing back to my bouncer days. This is fantastic. I got my back to the wall. I'm watching the dance floor, and I'm just kind of swaying. Hello, ladies. How you doing?
It's a great song, though, for what we're about to talk to end the show today.
If I came to you, Jamie and Parker and Frank, and I said, hey, I got a great idea for a show outing. We're going to go have a couple drinks. You would say, oh, that sounds good. And I would say, and we're going to kink and draw.
Ooh.
And you would say, well, what? Excuse me?
No,
because,
you don't want to do that.
This is Jamie pointed this out, so I'm going to let you tell. I don't know where you get some of your stories, but I read this and it was woo. I'm like, hello.
It is something. It is something. So Kink and Draw is actually a session that's being held at bars across the country. The event is part of a practice, especially right now around the DC area, where people shell out a few bucks to draw live naked models at a bar. No commitment, no experience necessary. It's
for who, the artist or the model?
Everybody, I guess.
And who's committing?
I don't
love
know.
You, model.
But it's casual and community oriented. Okay. No different, really. They promote this as, these artists attending pub trivia night. Oh, no. This is much different than pub trivia night.
I think it's more interesting.
It feels a little different. Yeah.
No.
I don't know why you guys are being such prudes. They paint pottery at some bars for pottery nights. They do, as Jamie said, trivia. There's karaoke. There's naked people on a table while I sketch, allegedly. I didn't even bring a pencil. I'm just using my finger to draw on paper.
So the founder of Kink and Draw, which I just love the name,
that's great.
Says that it's a space for creativity, self-expression, and appreciation of the human form in a way that's respectful, open, and completely judgment-free.
Hello.
Now, she has actually, at this point, led 43 different people situated into 3 groups that face each other with different models through these warm-up exercises. And for about 2 minutes, you keep your pencil just moving on a page. And then in the very first round, you draw only with your non-dominant hand.
What are you doing with your dominant hand?
Well, we don't want to know. We don't ask questions at Kink and Draw.
Oh, I do.
So you draw the negative space and what's everything around the model, and then between each instruction, the models are moved into a new pose. So sometimes they'll slink into the split. Sometimes they'll put their legs up over their heads in time with lo-fi beats to the live
Parker,
DJ
do you have any lo-fi
pumping-
beats on tap that we could set the
pumping the
mood?
jam.
If I can find some more.
That'd be a lo-fi beat.
So bar owners are saying that these new drawing nights are obviously good for business, especially this is a pretty critical time. And in all seriousness, it's a pretty critical time, especially in Washington, D.C., for the restaurant industry because of the amount of troops.
I could just
who are still
imagine some
stationed.
bars in the North Woods doing this on a Thursday. The model's probably different, but it would still It would be very exciting
during snowmobiling season.
Or Deer Widows weekend. Wow. Okay.
This is something. But
it may make me try to become an artist. I've always been horrible at drawing, except for a few things I could always draw that looked realistic.
Now, so far, a lot of the people who have attended these events across the country, again, mostly in D.C., have been younger. Most of them
their hearts can
younger.
take it.
Most of them younger than 40, and they describe themselves as hobby artists. That's what they said, and they're fast.
That's what I tell my wife when I go. Listen, honey, I'm a hobby artist. I must go.
I'm going to kink and draw tonight.
I'm going to kink and draw. I have to express my art. I must draw. You can stay home and draw me or the dogs.
No.
I'm not that much into the hobby.
No, I'm going to Uncle Buck's over in the Northwoods up there for a beer and for
because Stella got off her sled, stripped down out of her coveralls, and I'm going to draw her in her drawers. Wow.
This is a thing happening.
I can't wait. Listen, we'll do. I'm going to put this out there, Jamie. You can talk to the suits about it later. We'll do a live broadcast.
We will,
if your bar or restaurant is doing a kink and draw, and Parker will model. Yes, Parker will model.
As long as we don't live stream the video.
No, there'll just be still photos.
No, artistic
stills.
If we stream it, then that becomes a whole different level of streaming at Civic Media.
And
so
yes, Parker, we will use a zoom
that.
lens to not embarrass you. Wink, wink. You know what I'm talking about.
As long as it's warm in there.
Yeah, you got to be careful where you put the model, right by the door in the winter, or,
That's why it wouldn't work at Uncle Buck's in the Northwoods during snowmobiling season.
No, you got to put one of those extra doors on there, a little foyer, so that people come in. Because once that Arctic air blows in, unless Stella is still modeling, it doesn't matter. But
can you imagine walking down Main Street, seeing Uncle Buck's, and you look in the window and just...
Oh, there's a kink and draw happening.
There's a kink and draw going on.
Somebody's like on the table,
That's
just
chill.
to the low beats and
I don't.
grooving.
Would you like some low beats?
I would like some lo-fi beats.
I've got some lo-fi beats for you.
Oh, there we go.
All right, here we go.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very
now
nice.
hold
It's
still.
putting us into the kink and draw mood.
Time for kink and draw.
Can you move your head just a little bit to the left? Not that one. All right, perfect.
Would Bob Ross approve of this?
Little
That's
birds.
my question.
Well, they're happy, all right.
They're happy little birds flying out of happy little trees and bushes
Wow.
and just enjoying themselves. I do abstract naked art. I never draw the head because I'm not good at faces.
Oh,
but I'm good at
PBS would not
torsos.
approve of this, of the lo-fi beats and Bob Ross.
All right, listen.
Kink and draw, people. It's a
Somebody
new
could
thing.
some
Hobby.
Kink and Draw could sponsor the program. We're always looking to get in
Expand
bed
our
with new
horizons.
friends, let's say.
Expand to the horizons.
Yes. All right, well, listen, this has been soothing and erotic at the same time. We hope we send you off into your day with a new appreciation of the arts. That's our goal. We want you to appreciate the arts here on the Civic Media Network. I'm done. I'm going.
We're done. On that
thank
note,
you
I don't
for listening. Thank you for being part of the program. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson. It's the Civic Media Network.
All right, live stream.
Take that into your day now. Enjoy.
Go enjoy. Remember what you will of that. Goodbye.